Welcome back to Meta Fanfic, the place where your favorite words get rewritten. If you love powerful what if stories, you are in the right place. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new twist in the wizarding world. This video includes a self-recorded human introduction in the first 30 seconds, followed by AI-generated narration for creative storytelling purposes. Today's story is one of our most exciting and what if Harry Potter was chosen by devils, angels, and God at age 6. Let's dive in.
Here is short summary. At just 6 years old, Harry Potter is pulled into a hidden war between devils, angels, and gods. Marked by Ebony Hellfire, he gains terrifying new powers, but power comes with a price. Hunted by divine forces and crushed by enemies far stronger than him, Harry must survive a brutal supernatural world while discovering who he truly is, long before Hogwarts ever calls. But before we start, if you want more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and like this video. And if possible share this video with your friends. Now let's start the story. Harry suddenly fell backwards. Rubbing his head he looked around and saw he had made it to the park but he had walked into a tree. Harry had just gotten up when he heard a giggle. He turned and saw a blonde girl about his age. The first thought he had was, "She's pretty." The second was, "Hey, are you laughing at me?" He yelled at the girl. She blushed and looked down embarrassed. "I'm sorry for laughing at you," she said with a quick bow. "It's okay," said Harry before he realized that he did not recognize her and that means Dudley could not have scared her off. "Hi, I'm Harry, would like to play with me?" he asked with a smile, completely forgetting the previous incident. The girl smiled back at him. "Sure, I'm Asia," replied the now named Asia. Now that Harry was paying more attention to her, he noticed she was wearing a plain black dress with really long socks and a pair of white shoes with a strap across the middle. "Great, let's play," said Harry, previous injuries forgotten as he ran off to the swing with Asia trailing behind him. They played all afternoon, quickly becoming best friends the way only children can. As the day wore on, Asia was eventually called by an old woman wearing a long black dress and a hood, which confused Harry as it was really hot out. As Asia got up to go, the lady told her, "Say goodbye to your new friend." She turned around and saw Harry was walking away looking sad. She ran up to him. "Why are you sad? You're leaving." She smiled. "I'll come back tomorrow, you know." He looked up. "Really?" he asked. "Of course, you're my friend, right?" Harry blinked in shock. He never had a friend before. Dudley had always scared the other kids off. He beamed and nodded his head. "Of course, friends," he responded. "Great." And then she shocked again him by giving him a hug. Harry was frozen in shock. He had never been hugged before. She broke off the hug and ran back to the old lady from before. Harry looked on in shock for several moments before shaking his head and heading home. Harry was on autopilot the entire way home. He had a friend and she had hugged him. He never had a friend before and he could not remember ever being hugged by his aunt or uncle. He didn't even remember his parents. By the time he got home he was a great mood. He had a friend. As he entered the house he saw his Uncle Vernon was watching the telly. When Uncle Vernon saw him smiling he glared. "Wipe that stupid look off your face, boy." Harry's smile immediately disappeared as he walked past his uncle. "And go help you aunt with dinner," ordered his Uncle Vernon as he turns back to the telly grumbling about useless freaks. Harry did as he was told, tripping over his cousin's feet as Dudley stuck his legs out in front of him while he was on his way to the kitchen. Once there his aunt ordered him to start cutting the potatoes. After he washed his hands and grabbed a knife he started cutting up the potatoes. While he was doing this his aunt decided he needed to be reminded that he was worthless, so she insulted him for the dirt he brought into the air he breathed. After he finished helping prepare dinner his aunt handed him 2 pieces of bread and a slice of cheese and told him to go to his room. As he left the kitchen he huffed. Room, right, it was a prison. With 1 door, no windows, and being located under the stairs it was more of a cell than a room, not, but there were no place else for him to sleep. After all, Dudley needed both of his rooms and he couldn't sleep in the guest room. Quickly ate his pathetic meal and went to sleep. The last thought he had before drifting away was, "I have friend," and he drifted off into sleep with a smile. Harry woke up the next morning to his aunt screeching at him to get up and make breakfast. After he made and cleaned up breakfast, he started his walk to school, and as usual he was a couple minutes late. Not that anyone ever questioned why, and whenever someone did the Dursleys just said he refused to get in the car and that they had to get Dudley to school. Mrs. Watson just shook her head. Little troublemaker, she thought. Harry's day went normal. He would go class, sit in the back, do his work quietly. Then get scolded for something some else did because all the other kids are angels. Potter is the bad apple in the bunch. However, not even this could affect his mood. He was going to the park to see his friend after school today. He looked to the clock, 5 minutes till he could leave. He then noticed Dudley smirking at him from his seat and realized that today was another day of Harry hunting. He checked again and saw that there was a few seconds left and prepared to run. As soon as the bell rang, he was off running as fast as he could. As he turned a corner, he pressed himself against the wall, praying that Dudley would walk by him. As he did so, a strange feeling passed over him, like when you stick a glove underwater. As Dudley turned the corner, he stopped and looked around, looked right at Harry, stamped his foot and mumbled something about getting the freak ladder. Harry decided not to look a gift horse in the mouth and took off full sprint to the park. When Harry got there, Asia was not there. He assumed she was just late, so Harry waited for an hour before he realized that she was not coming and got up to leave. As he was leave, he heard someone shout, "Wait!" He turned around and saw Asia running toward him. She took a deep breath. "Sorry, Ha. I'm late. Sister Karen needed my help." "It's okay." Then what she said caught up with him. "That old lady from yesterday is your sister." Asia just let out a giggle. "No, silly, she is a nun. You call a nun sister and a priest father. But why, if they're not related to you, would you call them sister and father?" asked Harry, not understanding why you would do that. She shrugged. She didn't know either. "That's just how it is." Harry blinked. "Well, it's weird." He smiled mischievously. "Race you to the swings?" he challenged and took off running. "Hey, no fair, you had a head start," she exclaimed, trying to catch up to the young boy. They spent the rest of the day running, laughing and having fun around the park. Asia taught Harry how to play hopscotch, while Harry taught Asia how to climb the monkey bars. When they finally left the park, Harry was in an amazing mood. On the way home, he wondered what that strange feeling was. It made Dudley ignore him even though he was right there. When Harry got home, he reached for the door to go inside when it wouldn't turn. He realized he was locked out. He looked up at the sky and noticed it was about rain. When he heard a booming crack of thunder, he jumped in fear and reached out for the door and turned the knob to try and open it. When he felt that weird feeling again and the door unlocked, Harry rushed inside and snuck into his cupboard. As he sat there, he wondered that was the second time today that he felt that strange feeling, and the second time something weird happened when he was scared. He decided to do what that guy from the show did, meditate to draw out his inner power. Harry crossed his legs and closed his eyes and focused on his inner power. He lasted 10 minutes before he fell asleep. But that night he dreamed of a big black dragon that was asleep and warm fire right next to it. Nothing he did though could wake the dragon up. Even when he yelled at the top of his lungs, he just shifted a bit and kept on sleeping. Harry kept this up for a week before he was able to make Dudley ignore him at will, though he found out the longer he did it, the harder it was to keep up, and the more people he did it on, the fast he tired out. It was the 2 weeks later when Harry found out he could do more. Dudley for once thought ahead and got 8 people to help him with Harry hunting, and the target of their game was trapped in an alley. He was thinking of a way to escape when he remembered he had unlocked a door with this power to that means he can move objects with it. He focused really hard calling up his power, but instead of make them not see him, he focused on making it push the garbage can on the other end of the street to tip over. He focused really hard, and just when they were about to find him, clang! Dudley and his friend turned and ran in the direction of the noise, allowing Harry to slip away. When he got to the park, when he got there, Asia was already there. He noticed she seemed happy. He paused, well, happier than usual anyway. He turned to her and asked, "What has you so happy today?" She smiled. "My birthday is next week." "Harry, when's your?" she asked. "It's the end of July," he responded. He seemed happy and calm on the outside. On the inside he was freaking out. "What am I going to do? It's her birthday next week. What am I going to get her? I don't have money to get her anything." He looked at her suspiciously. He had seen enough TV to know that even if a girl said not to get her anything, she wants something. He peered at her as if trying to see something different. "Harry, are you all right?" asked Asia, noticing he was looking at her weird. "Yeah, I'm great. Why do you ask?" he responded, filing his suspicions in the back of his head for later. "You were looking at me funny." "Was I sorry?" he apologized. "Anyway, do you want to play hide-seek?" "Sure." The next couple of days Harry spent thinking about what to get her. He had £20 he had taken from Dudley's room, not that it mattered. Dudley was given anything he wanted and had about £300 in a jar next to his bed, not that he counted how much there was. So he would never know that Harry took any money. As he walked through the market with his aunt, he saw something perfect. It was a silver necklace of a black dragon with green eyes. Harry snuck away from his aunt and into the store to grab the necklace. It cost him £18. With the two left over, he got a small box for it. The man at the store asked, "Are you getting this for your mom, young man?" he asked with a smile. Harry shook his head. "Nope, I'm getting my friend Asia." "Oh, is this young lady your girlfriend?" he asked, amused. Harry nodded, confused. "Of course she is. She is a girl and my friend. What else would she be?" The old man let out a chuckle. "Nothing, just an old man sating his curiosity," he said with a small smirk, watching the young boy leave. "Oughta that young and innocent again." After walking out of the store, Harry hid the box in his oversized pockets and snuck back to his aunt's side. She hadn't even noticed he was gone. 3 days later, Harry was walking to the park with present in hand. He heard his cousin, "What are you doing hanging around with the freak?" asked Dudley with 3 of his goons around him, Piers Polkins leading them. "I don't know who you are talking about," Asia answered. "Harry Potter, that's who I'm talking about." Harry had now gotten behind a tree and saw Dudley and his goons surrounding Asia in a circle. Harry let a sigh. It was nice having a friend while it lasted. Dudley was going to scare her off just like everyone else. "Harry is my friend and you're the freak." She glared at him. Dudley, never one to take an insult, shoved her to the ground. She let out a grunt and glared at Dudley. "Let's teach her why you don't make friends with freaks." As they surrounded her, Harry got mad. Now most would equate this to a lion standing up for itself. They would be wrong. This was less of a noble lion standing up for itself and more of a sleeping dragon waking up to find someone taking its hoard. Harry was furious. Asia was his friend, not Dudley's. She was his and no one was taking her from him. Some background knowledge to know about Harry and Dudley fighting. The first time they fought, Dudley wanted to go on the swing Harry was on, but Harry would not move, so Dudley shoved him off. Harry retaliated by shoving him back. They got into a fight. Normally in a fight like this the bigger kid wins, however Harry had an innate knack for fighting, allowing him to easily beat his cousin. But Harry did not stop. Once he had won, he kept hitting Dudley until an adult pulled Harry off him. Later on, when Dudley's parents were called and they were told by the principal to keep that hooligan under control, this was why most people believed all the stories about Harry. Once they got home, Harry was grounded and punished every time he fought back, till he learned it was just easier to let Dudley hit him or to run. Harry rushed forward with an angry roar, punching the first kid in the face and tackling the second to the ground. When Dudley came up and shoved Harry off him, Dudley was shocked. The freak didn't fight back, but he quickly got over it and attacked him. As the two of them wrestled on the ground, Piers stood there watching, wondering what he should do when he saw Dudley land a punch on Harry's face, sending him sprawling across the grass. Holding his eye, Potter responded by kick Dudley in the stomach. Dudley decided to cut his losses and leave. He would get even later. "Come on," he said, holding his stomach, "let's go." But Dudley interrupted him. "Come, we're leaving," he said with a glare which would have been more intimidating if he wasn't hunched over looking like he was about to puke. Piers nodded and took off with the others. After they had left, Asia rushed over to Harry. "Are you okay, Harry?" Harry let out a grin, seeing she was okay. "I'm fine, how are you?" he questioned. She smiled. "I'm fine, thank you for helping me." Harry grinned, got up and reached into his pocket. "Hey Asia," Harry asked. "Yes," she answered, getting up. "Happy birthday," he said, pulling his hand out of his pocket and showed her the box containing the necklace. She blinked and took it carefully, opening it as if it would break from the slightest movement. When she opened the box, she pulled the necklace out and turned around. "Harry could put it on for me," she asked, moving her hair out of the way. Harry took the necklace from her hand and slides it around her neck before clasping it together. Asia turned around, smiled, and then stepped towards him, giving him a hug. Harry was not as surprised as last time and gave her a hug back. "Thank you, Harry, I love it." She smiled, eyes shining at him. It was a bright sunny day and Harry was napping under a tree in the park waiting. It had been 3 months since Harry got into a fight with Dudley, and Dudley did make him pay. When his parents found out Harry hurt their Diddykins, he was sent to his cupboard without dinner for a week. but it not matter, Asia was safe, so in his mind it was worth it. Dudley did try to bully Asia again, but Harry was always there to stop him regardless of the consequences. Though it took 3 tries before Dudley realized it was a bad idea to pick on Asia. Ironically, people saw Dudley trying to pick on Asia and Harry stepping, improving his reputation, as people thought that if that angel Asia spent time with him he could not be that bad. Harry heard the clinking of chains and looked down at the cross on his neck. Now Harry was not Catholic, he did not have faith in the biblical God, but Harry wore because it was a gift from Asia on his birthday. She came up to him carrying a small box and told him to open it, and inside was a small cross. Harry was overjoyed as it was the only gift he ever got. He immediately put it on and has not taken it off since. Harry noticed someone blocking out the sun and opened his eyes to see Asia standing in front of him. The two of them spent the day walking around looking at random things and playing the park. The day was winding to a close when Harry felt a foreign but familiar feeling wash over him. He stopped and looked around, trying to find who and why someone was trying to keep people away. Unable to see why, he looked to Asia and asked, "Asia, I'm feeling a bit tired, mind if we go home early today?" Asia pouted, "Please, can't we stay a little longer, 5 minutes that all?" She asked him, "Asia, I'm really not feeling good, can we please go?" Harry begged while holding his stomach. He looked around again. "What was that?" he questioned. "Okay," Asia responded. Getting up to go, she grabbed her bag and started to leave with a worried Harry trailing behind. They were halfway home when they saw a man with a sword standing at the end of the road. Upon seeing him, Harry paled. This man was the one who set up the barrier. Harry had found out about a month ago he could sense the power in people and objects. Most people had a small amount, like his aunt, uncle and Dudley. Some had a bit above average, like Miss Fig, the next door neighbor, and some had about the same amount as him, if not more, like Asia and a funny-looking man in a dress who bowed to him. Objects had it too, like the tin over Miss Fig's fireplace or his house. Strangely enough, even his necklace had a small amount. Harry knew this man right here had easily 5 times as much power as him, that man in a dress and Asia combine. Harry stepped in front of Asia and called out, "It was you who set up the barrier at the park." It was not a question, it was him who did it. Harry heard a feminine chuckle come from behind a tree and turned to it. "Seems you were not as well hidden as you thought. If a child could find out it was you, Valis." From behind the tree came a beautiful woman with a sinister smile on her face. The now named Valis glared at her. "Shut up, Anita," he snarled out. Asia, not understanding what was going on, decided to ask, "What's going on?" "Who are you?" she questioned. Valis smiles, "Well, you see, little girl, my partner and I here need to go get something from your church. But we can't do that if people see us. So we decided, how about we get rid of the people, that way no one will know we were there." His smile had turned into a full-blown condescending smirk. Asia, still not understanding, questioned further, "Well, how would you get everyone out of the church long enough for them not to see you?" "Well, we ran into that same issue, and can you think of any ideas?" he pretended to ask. She opened her mouth to answer when "Kill them all" came from Harry. She turned to him in surprise. "That is what you are planning to do, isn't it?" The man started clapping. "Well, aren't you a smart cookie?" he said with fake pride. "That is exactly what we are going to do." Asia gasped. "No." "Oh yes," he cackled. "Stop playing around and kill her. I want the boy," said Anita before vanishing. Harry looked around, trying to find her, when he heard a "boo" come from behind him. Turning around, he felt a hand clasp around his neck, lifting him off the ground. When she dropped him, she cried out in pain and glared at him. Wait, no, not at him, he realized, but at his necklace. Knowing he had no chance to escape from her, he grabbed his necklace and wrapped it around his hand and ran right at her. She laughed. "Wow, you're a brave one, aren't you?" Before slapping him to the side, Harry looked up and sees Valis messing around with Asia, swinging his sword around her, giving her a cut every time she moved. He then noticed Anita standing over him with a ball that was sparking with energy. He got angry. He was going to die. Asia was going to die. He pushed all his power into the cross, enhancing its power before jumping up at Anita and trying to hit her. Normally this would at best give the devil in question a bad burn. But when the ward set up to protect Harry noticed he was in danger of dying and poured its power into Harry to get rid of the threat, Harry then put the power into the blow. To Harry's shock it worked. When Harry hit her she exploded, the entire upper half of her body was gone. Her partner hearing an explosion and noticed her power disappear. Having looked up he was expecting to see an exorcist to have killed her. But to his shock it was the boy standing there with his right hand outstretched covered in a black gauntlet with the lower half of her body in front of him. He snarled that was a sacred gear on the boy's arm, and with an angry roar he sent a fireball at the kid and turned to finish the girl as she cried out to the boy in fear. He rolled his eyes in annoyance. This had just gotten a lot harder. As he raised his sword to kill her he heard a cry coming from behind him and saw the boy not only running through the fire, but when his right hand touched the fire it was absorbed into the gauntlet. Before he could react the boy threw a punch with his right hand at his chest. Too slow to get out of the way he shifted so that his arm was hit instead of his chest. He gritted his teeth as his left arm was blown off. Lucky for him it seemed the brat used up all his energy in that last attack as he lifted his only remaining arm to kill and brought it down. Harry was confused when he threw the punch with his right arm. A weird black gauntlet appeared right before he hit the woman and a torrent of fire erupted from his fist, annihilating the upper half of her body, but before he could move the man threw a fireball at him. He crossed his arms to shield his face when he noticed that whenever the flames touched him the gauntlet absorbed it. He turned towards Valis and held his right fist forward and ran towards Valis, the flames parting or being absorbed as he passed. Before he knew it he was right in front of Valis, but as he swung Valis shifted, so instead of hitting his chest he hit his left arm. As the arm was obliterated Harry collapsed, out of energy. As the man lifted his arm to finish Harry he drove his arm down with his sword in hand. Harry closed his eyes as he felt pain unlike anything he had ever felt before explode in his gut. His world was fading to black as he heard Asia scream his name and Valis laughing. When suddenly Valis' laughter changed into a strangled gasp. The last thing Harry saw before he passed out was a man in white holding a sword that was sticking out of Valis' chest. Sully, Drake was having a really bad day. It started off a normal day till he found out 2 devils breached a protective barrier over the town, and there was only one reason a devil would come here. They must have found out about the Excalibur fragment that was being hidden here while they upgraded the security on the cathedral where it normally was. They could only send him because otherwise the other factions would question why several high-ranking exorcists would be at a small-town church. He however was a mid-ranked exorcist that personally knew Sister Karen from his childhood, thus no one would question why he was there. As he ran through town looking for any sign of the devils he felt a surge of magical energy coming from the other side of town. He left out an annoyed huff and took off running in the direction of the surge. He arrived just in time to see a young boy get stabbed in the stomach while the devil was laughing. Before Sully was noticed he appeared behind the devil stabbing him in the back. Now that the threat was gone he took a closer look at the situation and noticed a few things. The girl seemed in shock and the corpse to the left that must have been the man's partner, a woman from what he could guess, but he wasn't sure, not enough left to tell. He heard a strangled gasp come from the boy and realized he was still alive. That also snapped the girl out of her shock as she ran to the boy and tried to stop the bleeding. "Please Harry, don't leave me, please don't go, stay please," she begged to the dying boy as she held her hands over the wound. Something strange happened. A green glow started to form around her hands and the wounds healing them. When the wounds finally closed the girl passed out. Sully blinked, then his higher brain functions kicked in and he realized she had a sacred gear. Then he noticed the sun being reflected off the boy Harry's black gauntlet. Wait, he did a double take. Black gauntlet. It took him all of 3 seconds realize what that meant. Both of them had sacred gears. He took a deep breath. The threat may be gone, but things just got so much more complicated. As he picked the boy up he noticed the remnants of a protective ward over the boy. Whatever it was powerful and did its job considering the state of the first body. He turned and picked up the girl, deciding since he did not know where the boy lived and the girl was from the church that he should take them there. Once he had them at the church he decided to ask around town to see if anyone knew where the boy lived. After asking around for a couple minutes a few people pointed him to number 4 Privet Drive. Once he got there H noticed the same wards that were on the boy around the house, and just like around the boy they were broken. He took a deep breath. This was going to take a while. Stepping up to the door he knocked and waited for someone to answer. The person who answered was a large man with a mustache whose eyes lit up in annoyance when he saw him. "Can I help you?" he asked with a small glare. I hope so, does a young boy with black hair, green eyes and a scar on his forehead. Sully asked despite already knowing the answer. The man's glare hardened. What did the boy do this time? He grunted out. Sully looked around, noticing a few people peeking out through their windows. I think it would be best to have this conversation inside, sir. The man looked around and noticed all the people spy and reluctantly stepped out of the way. Come in please, he said with great reluctance. As he was led to the family room, he noticed that there were no pictures of the boy, Harry, he reminded himself, in any of them. I think it best if your wife is here as well. He nodded. Pet, come in here please. A minute later a plain-looking tall woman entered the room. What is it, Vernon dear? She asked. Petunia, this man here, he gestured to Sully, said that there is something we need to hear about Harry. He corrected himself quickly, but Sully noticed he was going to call Harry something else. He noted with suspicion. I going to come right out and say this, you're probably going to need to move. What, why? Vernon asked with anger. The wards that were protecting this family are gone. They were destroyed in an attack by devils trying to kill a ward of the church. Sully informed them grimly. Devils, Vernon intoned, they are real. He asked, looking scared. Wizards he could deal with, devils were a whole different matter. Yes, I am an exorcist. It is my job to kill stray devils. Sully informed them. Petunia, who had been quiet till now, piped up. You said the wards are gone? She inquired. Yes, they fell after killing one of the devils. Sully answered, wondering where she was going with this. Can they be put back up? No, they can't. They used up everything they had against the devils. Her inquiring look then turned scathing. Then take the boy. The only reason we kept him was because of the protection that was offered when we took him in. She spat out as if the thought of keeping the boy made her sick. But madam, you can't be serious. He started before she interrupted. No, get out right, go and take his stuff with you. She walked out of room. He heard a door open before closing. A couple seconds later he heard another door open. A couple minutes later she came back with a garbage bag full of stuff. He was furious. He would have done anything as a boy to have a family, and these people got rid of theirs all because whatever they gained from taking him was gone. He stormed out of the house and did not calm down till he was almost at the church. Once there he told Sister Karen what happened at the Dursleys. She too was angry. When asked what was going to happen, the kids. Sully said that once he had reported this they would most likely be moved to a safe location to train if they agreed to be trained. As he went to go and rest he asked to be told when one of them woke up, and with that he went to sleep. At 2 o'clock the next day when Asia awoke, as she looked around she wondered why she was in the infirmary and why her body was so sore when the previous day's events came back to her. Harry. She cried out and started looking around for him. She heard a groan and her eyes landed on the bed next to her. I'm getting up, Aunt Petunia. Harry was rubbing his head wondering why it hurt when he realized it was not his aunt calling him but Asia. As the previous day's events came back to him, Asia was already out of bed running to him. You're okay, she cried and launched herself at him, hugging him as tightly as she could. Harry hugged her back. He did not know how long they stayed like, but he didn't care, she was safe. This was the scene that Sully walked into after being informed that they were awake. He walked down there to talk to them about what his superiors had told him. He smiled when he saw them hugging. He hated to break it up, but he was happy to mess with them. If you two are done, we have important things to talk about, then you can get back to your romance. They both blushed bright red. What the hell are talking, old man? Harry shouted while Asia just blushed some more, mumbling romance. Not important. Anyway kids, you know those two things that attacked you? Well, they were devils. Devils? Asia asked, like from the Bible. Exactly, Sully nodded, and these devils were trying to steal a very important sword that was being hidden in this church. What sword? This time it was Harry who asked. One of the 7 Excalibur, he stated. Harry's eyes shined. Like any boy in England he knew what Excalibur was. Wow, really, can I see it? He started shooting off questions a mile a minute. Sully chuckled at the boy's reaction before Harry stopped. Wait, 7? There are 7 Excaliburs. Well, originally there was only one, but during the Great War it was shattered and later reforged into 7. Great War. This time it was Asia who asked. Sully took a deep breath. And started explaining about the Great War, about how after Lucifer was cast from heaven to the underworld, He became the first devil, and after that believing he could make better beings than God. He created the other devils, starting with his 3 lieutenants Beelzebub, Leviathan and Asmodeus, and together they were the 4 Satans. They then created the 72 noble houses of the underworld. While that was happening, some angels grew jealous of humanity and started to sin. The first to fall was Azazel, who fell for lust, and with that hundreds of angels started to fall. Their wings turned from pure white to pitch black. No longer welcome in heaven or in places of worship. They went to the underworld to seek refuge, but they were turned away, as even if they fell from heaven they still held some of its power, and soon tension between the 3 reached its breaking point and war erupted. Soon all factions were forced to take a side, and when the dust settled the 4 Satans were dead. God retreated to heaven and the fallen angel returned to the land they won during the war. All sides were crippled, and so the leaders met and made a treaty, a pact of non-aggression. But tensions are still high, and all 3 are always looking for ways to gain the upper hand over the others. As he finished his explanation, he said, "Harry, looking considerate, you mentioned other factions." He asked, "Yes, all the gods of legend are real, every single one, though some may just be the same god with a different name, understand?" Sully answered. "But what does this have to do with any of us?" "Well, you see, before God retreated to heaven he made several items to help humans defend themselves against evil. These are called sacred gears, and both of you have one." "Really?" Harry shouted. "How do we use it?" "It takes time and effort, but you must focus on drawing out the power within you." Sully informed them. "Now don't be disappointed if you don't get it right away." Sully continued to talk, but Harry had tuned him out, focusing on drawing out his power. Reaching inside himself, he ignored his own power and felt around for that strange feeling got from the gauntlet. As Harry focused on drawing out the power of the sacred gear, an image of Black Dragon appeared in his mind. The same dragon he always dreamed about. Harry realized that this must his sacred gear and grabbed it, pulling it out. When Harry opened his eyes, he smirked as he looked at his right arm. On it was the gauntlet from yesterday. "Got it," Harry announced. Sully looked over in shock. He had heard it was easy to activate a sacred gear after it awakened, but this was ridiculous. A couple minutes later, Asia managed to summon hers. "Now all you need to do is practice," he informed them. He was impressed these kids were good. But then he saw the smirk on the kid's face and decided to beat the arrogance out of him right now before it had a chance to grow. "How about we have a spar to see how well you can fight with that thing?" Sully requested, knowing Harry would not refuse the chance to show off. Just like he predicted, Harry agreed. "Sure, let's see how good you really are, old man," Harry answered, fully expecting win. An hour later, Harry was rubbing his sore shoulder. "I don't get it, how did you win?" he asked, not understanding how he lost with his new sacred gear. "A sacred gear can only compensate for so much," Sully told him. "Skill can overcome that advantage fairly easily. But you have way more experience than me." "Yes, I do, but you know what?" he asked. "I'm only a mid-class exorcist. There are over 1,000 exorcists more powerful than me and thousands more beings stronger than them." Harry paled at the thought of that. "But how did I beat those 2 devils then?" he wondered. "You had," he said with emphasis on had, "a set of powerful wards protecting you that did most of the work. You were just a conduit of its power. Plus they broke after you were stabbed in the stomach." Harry let out a sigh. He guessed it would be too much to ask to get an instant power-up like that. Stuff like that only happened in movies and cartoons. After Asia healed him, Harry noticed Sully started to talk, so he turned his focus to him. "Harry, I'm sorry to tell, but once your aunt found out the wards were broken, she kicked you out. You are now a ward of the church." Harry was in shock. He could not believe it. He knew his family hated him, but to kick him out? No, he could believe it. His family was that cruel. If whatever they gained from keeping him was gone, they'd kick him out as well. Fine, he thought. I don't need them. It's not like I gained anything from staying in that house. "Harry, are you all right?" Asia asked, worried about him as he was being strangely quiet. "Fine," he answered. "That place was never a home to me to begin with." Sully let out a sigh. It was a sad day when family turned their back on each other. "So," he started, "Harry, how would you like to be trained to fight against devils?" Deciding to get straight to the point. "And Asia, how would you like to help heal people?" "What do you mean be trained to fight devils?" Harry asked, confused. I mean, would you like to become an exorcist? And Asia, how would you like to become a nun and help people? Both of you would learn magic. But why? Asia asked. Because, he answered, my bosses think you would be great for it. Healing people would be a cinch with your sacred gear, and Harry, your sacred gear, while I don't know what it is, would be great for fighting devils. Then it hit Harry, the church did not care about them, they just wanted their power. Harry was still considering accepting, if only for the training they could offer him. But he wanted to see what Asia said first before deciding. Asia, on the other hand, was considering if she could really help people with her powers, not suspicious in the slightest of why, perfectly willing to go with Sully. Sully, seeing that they were thinking, looked at them. You don't have to decide right now, you have till the end of the week, because that is when I go back to the Vatican. As he got up to leave, Harry called out to him, the Vatican, isn't that in Italy? Harry asked. Yea, it is, he answered with smile. As Harry went to bed that night, he went through his usual ritual of meditation to improve his control over magic. As he went to sleep, he saw and everything was the same as usual. That's when he noticed something was different. He looked around trying to figure out what it was. As he turned around, he saw what it was, the black dragon that was always asleep. It was no longer asleep. Then it spoke. Brat, we need to talk. It is said that a butterfly flapping its wing can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world. Well, on the other side of world from Harry Potter there lived a family of which the father was an exorcist who was transferring to England in a week. If all had gone as they were supposed to, one of the devils that had attacked the church would have escaped, causing them to call him back. Week early, his daughter would have said goodbye to her best friend, not seeing him again for another 8 years. But with the devil there dead, there was no need to call him back. So he stayed, informing his family the next day that he was being transferred to England in a few days. His daughter was notably upset that she had to leave her best friend and would not talk to him the rest of the day, pretending he was not there, walking right past him in the halls, talking to her mom at the dinner table without so much as looking at him. He sighed. If this is what she is like now, he would hate to see what she will be like in her teenage years. The next day, as Irina got ready to play with Issei, she noticed she could not find any of her shorts. Mom, she called out, where are my shorts? In the wash, came the reply from her mother. But what am I supposed to wear? Not seeing anything else that she could go outside with. What about that sundress we got you last month? Her mom answered. But I can't play outside in that, it's too girly, she complained. It's either that or wait until tomorrow, sweetie. Fine. Then with great reluctance she slipped on the yellow dress and left to meet up with Issei. Once she got there, Issei noticed she was in a dress and looked at her closely before something seemed to click. You're a girl, he shouted, looking. Someone just told him it was the middle of winter. Irina blinked in surprise. He did not know she was a girl. She was about to laugh when she realized what that meant. Are you saying I look manly? She glared. Issei cowered under her glare. He backed up quickly. No, I just thought you were a boy because you always wore shorts and hated girly things. Luckily for him, she seemed to buy his excuse. Oh, okay, she said brightly with a grin before suddenly looking like she was on the verge of crying. Issei panicked, not knowing how to deal with a crying girl. Tentatively, as if in fear, he asked, Irina, are you all right? She then let a small sob. No, I just found I'm moving in a few days. Issei Hyodo was having a weird day. First he found out his best friend was actually a girl, and then he found out she was moving. But Issei was nothing if not stubborn. He decided this morning he was going to have a great day today, so he would. Come, let's go to the park then and have some fun, he said, grabbing her hand and started to pull her in the direction of the park. All while having a silly smile on face. She let out a small giggle, wiped away her tears. It was sunset when the two finally stopped playing, started to walk home. All the other kids had already left, so only the two of them remained. On the way home, Issei noticed the street they normally took home was closed for construction, so they went around it. They were halfway home when a couple of mean-looking men appeared seemingly from nowhere. Well, would you look at this, two lost little kids. Well, now how about we help you get home, he asked. Both Issei and Irina felt uncomfortable with the way he was looking at Irina. It reminded Issei of a starved dog he once saw on Hungry. No thank you, we can get home on our own, replied Irina before they both quickly started to walk away, almost running, when one of the men reached out, grabbed Irina and pulled a knife. Now kid, why don't you hurry on home before you get hurt, understood? Issei was on the verge of running when he heard Irina cry out as her arm was twisted as she tried to escape and saw the look of fear in her eyes. "Let her go," he cried and ran at them swinging his arms. "Oh, would you look at that, we have ourselves a hero," said the man with the knife before he lashed out and cut clean across the chest. As he blinked in shock, he heard Irina cry his name as she was dragged away. Unknown to him, those men had cut a vein in his shoulder and he would bleed out in a few hours if no one found his. As he tried to crawl towards Irina, he heard a voice call out. "What would you do to survive?" "Anything," he responded, not wanting to die. "Then give me your right arm and I shall give you the power to survive." The voice commanded. Issei was about to agree when he noticed that it did not say anything about saving Irina, and he voiced his question. "What about Irina?" he asked. "What will happen to her?" "Unfortunately, you will not be able to save her," the voice answered him. "But I have to. She is my best friend," Issei responded, refusing to give up. "Fine," the voice answered. "If you truly wish to save her, then give me your heart and I will give you the power to save her." "Okay," Issei agreed. "Take it. If I can save her, it will be worth it." The voice chuckled. "Fine, then a deal has been struck. In exchange for your heart, I shall give you the power to save your friend. Now prepare yourself, because this will hurt." Before Issei could respond, he felt fire course through his veins before reaching his heart, and then as it touched his heart, the pain doubled before disappearing just as fast. As Issei got up, he noticed a red gauntlet on his left hand. He smiled. "It worked. Go quickly, boy, you do not have much time." "Right," he responded and ran towards the thugs with a roar. Hearing something, one of them turned around before being punched in the stomach by a metal fist. Hearing one of their own cry out in pain, they turned around to see the kid from earlier running at them with a metal gauntlet over his left fist. The leader threw Irina to side and drew his knife. "This time I am going to make sure you stay down, kid," he said before swinging his knife at the boy, but he just brought his left hand up, blocking the blow and hitting him in the stomach. As the other two saw their leader go down, they each drew a weapon. One pulled a knife like their bosses, the other pulled out a small pipe. As they ran at him, Issei was starting to feel tired before a voice came from the gauntlet boost. Suddenly Issei felt even stronger than before and he ran at the two punks, taking the first one down with a single punch and the other with a kick to the stomach. After knocking them both out, Issei turned to Irina and ran up to her. "Are you all right?" he asked, looking her over for injuries. "I'm fine, but how did you do that? Where did that glove thingy come from?" she asked. "Well, I got this from a draw," he started to answer before he felt really tired and suddenly he fell over unconscious. Irina rushed up to Issei, looking him over for injuries. Finding nothing, she ran to the nearest store to call home and the police to tell them what happened, wisely leaving out the red gauntlet, just saying that a couple of thugs tried to kidnap her and her friend got hurt stopping them. As she waited for the police to show, Irina sat next to Issei holding his hand. When her parents finally showed up, they were worried sick, as all they had been told when they got there was that a couple of thugs had tried to kidnap their daughter and her friend had gotten hurt stopping them. They expected to maybe see one on the ground while the rest had gotten away, and that they would be teenagers at that, not 4 full-grown adults with weapons. When they saw their daughter, they ran up to her, looking her over for injuries. Finding nothing wrong, they embraced her. Just happy their daughter was safe, not caring about how it happened. It was then they noticed Issei was unconscious on the ground. When Irina's father checked, he calmed his daughter by telling her he was just exhausted and that a good night's worth of rest and he would be all better. After he carried Issei to the car, he started to head to the Hyodo house when his daughter asked him if Issei could sleep over. After several minutes of begging and almost crying, he finally agreed to let Issei sleep over if his parents agreed. As soon as he agreed, Irina brightened up, smiling, and gave her dada on the cheek. "Thank you, Daddy." After that, he was left with the distinct impression he had been played. Once home, he picked up the phone to call the Hyodos. After a few rings, someone picked. "Moshi Moshi Soma, how are you? Is something wrong?" "No, nothing is wrong, Ishin. My daughter was just wondering if Issei could sleep over, as he had already fallen asleep," Soma asked. "Of course, you still have an extra set of his clothes there if I remember correctly." Issei's father responded. "Yes, we do, thank you, have a nice night." "Good night," and with that the conversation was over. As Issei woke up, he let out a small cry. "Oh, www, he thought, my everything hurts." He let out a small groan as he tried to lift his left arm. He noticed something holding it down. When he looked he saw it was Irina. As he wondered how he was going to get his arm free, Irina started to stir as she let out a small yawn. She looked around before noticing that Issei was awake. "You're okay," she cried and gave him a bone-crushing "OWWW," he rasped out. "Can't breathe, Irina. Need air." She quickly pulled back. "Sorry," she apologized before remembering something. "Issei, what was that glove thing from yesterday, and how come you don't have scratch on you? I saw that man's knife cut you." "Well, I was given it by weird voice in my head." Seeing the strange look she gave him, he continued to explain. "I was on the ground bleed when a voice asked me if I want to live. I said yes, so it said give me your arm and I'll help you. But he did not mention you, so I asked him and he said that if really wanted to save you I had to give him my heart, and I said okay. Then it felt really hot and it hurt. When it stopped I felt really strong. Then I beat up the bad guys," he finished with a grin. "You're terrible at storytelling, kid," came a voice from nowhere. "Hey, it's that voice from before. Where are you?" he asked, looking around. "Look at your left hand, kid." As Issei looked down he noticed a green glow coming from his left hand. "Wow, cool. By the way, Mr. Voice, what's your name?" Issei asked. "My name is Drake, one of the heavenly dragons," Drake stated with pride evident in his voice. "Hey Mr. Drake, if you took Issei's heart, how come it's still there?" Irina asked, not understanding how that could work. "His heart is gone," stated Drake. Ignoring their shock he continued. "But it has been replaced with the heart of a dragon. Does this mean I am dragon now?" he asked, thinking of all the cool stuff he could do as a fire-breathing dragon. Drake, seeing his thoughts, deadpanned at some of the things Issei was imagining. "You are part dragon," answered Drake. "You will be human in many regards, but because of the fact your heart is draconic, that which pumps your blood throughout your body, it will be more so than normal. I'd say about 10% dragon, with the rest being human. You will have stronger skin. Normal knives will not be able to cut you within a year. You will also have a stronger resistance to fire, and be stronger, faster and better overall. You may have claws, but that's just my guess," Drake told them. Irina, who had been wondering something for quite some time, decided to voice her question. "Mr. Drake, how did you get inside Issei's body?" Irina asked, curious to how a dragon got inside a small boy. "Well, something you need to know about me is that I am known as the Red Dragon Emperor, and the other heavenly dragon is known as the White Dragon Emperor, is my rival. The both of us have always fought to find out who is stronger, but during the Great War, when all other beings and factions had taken a side, we refused and kept fighting. Eventually it started to interfere in the war, killing thousands on each side. Soon all factions teamed up to take us down. Even heaven and the underworld had to work together. But it was not till the 4 devil kings and God worked together were they able to stop us. Even then they could not kill us, as we were immortal, so God took our souls and sealed us away into 2 special items he made called sacred gear, which gave the wielder some of our power. I was sealed within the boosted gear, which allowed my wielder to double their current power every 10 seconds. While my rival Albion was sealed within divine dividing, allowing his to half the power of anything he touched and add it to his own. Drake finished. But Issei still had one question. What is a sacred gear, Drake? A sacred gear is an artifact, magical power made by the God of the Bible to aid humans. Because of this, only humans or part humans can wield one. The powers they grant can be as simple as making your senses better to giving you, with proper training, the ability to kill a god. The sacred gears capable of killing gods are called Longinus. There are 13 Longinus. The boosted gear and divine dividing are one of these. After that he went silent, having said his part. Issei and Irina spent the rest of the day playing around trying to cast magic spells, not that anything happened. The next few days passed normally, and before they knew it was time for Irina, for as Issei stood outside her house he gave Irina a hug before saying goodbye. "Bye Irina, call me as soon as you get to England," he told her. "Don't worry about me, Issei, when I get back I will a lot stronger than you," she told him with a smirk before getting into the car. As her parents started to drive away she suddenly cried out, "Wait, I forgot to do something, turn around please." Her parent reluctantly agreed, turning around. When they pulled back in, Issei was just leaving. Irina jumped out of the car. "Issei, wait," she called as he stopped to turn around. She quickly ran up to him. "I almost forgot, thank you for giving your heart up for me." she said before she surprised him by grabbing him and pulling him close beforeing him right on the lips before he could react. She pulled back. "Thank you," she whispered before running back into her car. As they drove off, Issei put a hand to his lips as he was walking home. He thought about it didn't leave his mind till that night, when Drake contacted him for the first time in days. "Kid, you better get a good night's rest because tomorrow we start your training." "Training?" Issei asked. "Why would I start training? You remember those thugs that tried to take Irina away? Well, others are going to try. When you were in her house I sensed a holy sword, and since her father works for the church that means he must be an exorcist, so she will most likely become one as well or be targeted because of that. So the question is, do you wish to protect her or will you do nothing?" questioned Drake. "I will protect her," Issei stated with determination in his voice. Drake chuckled. "Good, because tomorrow we start you training. Rat, we need to talk." As Harry gazed up at the dragon he could not help but stare in awe as he saw its full size. It was massive, 3 stories tall and 150 meters long. Its scales as black as night and its eyes as red as blood. With teeth that could rip through steel with ease and claws that would shred anything. He saw why dragons were such feared creatures. "About what, sir?" he asked, still a bit in awe of the dragon. "First you need to grow a spine. You are a vessel to the Dragon Lord of Fire Alduin. You don't show respect to anyone, one who has not earned it." It growled out, clearly annoyed at the thought of his vessel bowing before anyone. "Second, we need to talk about your powers and how they work, at least the basics, because I am not having a weak vessel and I don't have time to waste with you figuring it out on your own. You have a one-of-a-kind borderline Longinus sacred gear. I am the only type of my sacred gear in the world, much like a Longinus. Unlike a Longinus, my wielders have to work for their power and it is not just handed to them on a silver platter, understood?" he stated, clearly hating the thought of just being handed power and not having to earn it. Harry nodded at that. He would not feel like he gained anything if his powers came to him with ease. "Good, now sacred gears adapt to their wielders, trying to be the best for any given fight. When yours awoken, it became a subspecies of the original gauntlet, allowing you to passively absorb the surrounding energy to add it to your fire. Normally this will do nothing, but if you are holding a holy item your fire would gain a holy factor. Now I will be helping you train, but you must answer me this: if someone tried to take Asia away from you, what would you do?" the dragon asked with a strange edge to its voice. Harry snarled at the thought of Asia being taken away from him. "I would tear them apart. Asia is mine, no one will take her away from me." Alduin smirked. Unknown to most was that sacred gears with sentient beings in them could manipulate what their wielder said, making them tell the truth if they could catch them unaware. "Good, you are a dragon, no one will take you treasures from you without one hell of a fight. Now the church offered to take you in and train you. What do you think of their offer?" It asked. He needed to see how foolish his vessel was. "They don't care about me or Asia. If we did not have our powers they would drop us in a heartbeat without looking back." "Good, you are smart not to trust them. They don't care about either of you. They would toss you out in second to cover their own ass." Alduin informed him, glad he did not have a foolish vessel. "So I shouldn't join them?" the wizard asked. The dragon snorted. "Of course you should join them. Just because they will betray you does not mean you shouldn't take advantage of such an opportunity. You will be far better trained with them than on your own. They have access to resources you could only dream of." Harry nodded in understanding. Nothing was gained nor lost by remaining here, but there was much more to gain than lost if he went to the church. "Now be gone, I grow tired of talking," the dragon ordered. Before Harry felt himself drift off to sleep. The next morning Harry woke up to find Asia gone. After calming himself down he went wandering around, finding her in the kitchen helping Sister Karen with breakfast. Looking up, Asia saw him standing at the door. "Good morning, Harry. If you would just wait a couple minutes then breakfast will be done," she informed him with a smile. Asia was an amazingly kind person. That she would be out of bed helping with breakfast despite the fact she was still injured was not surprising. But that was not why he was here. "Asia, can we talk?" he asked with a serious look. Upon seeing the look on his face, any protests she might have had died in her throat. She nodded and followed. Once they were back in the infirmary, Harry looked at her and asked, "Do want to go with Sully?" Not bothering to beat around the bush. She nodded. "I could really help people and I would be serving God, but I don't want to leave you," she said, clearly confused about what she should do. "If you really want to go then I will go with you," Harry told her with a smile. Really, you would do that for me? But why? She asked, not understanding why he would do something that made him uncomfortable for her. Because you my best friend and Elle will not let you be taken away from me. Harry informed her. She smiled. Harry was always so nice to her. She did not understand why other kids did not like him. It was dinner time when they saw Sully again and both had made their decision they would join the church. Are you sure about this? It won't be all fun and games. He told them, wanting them to know exactly what they were getting into. When they both nodded, he sighed, okay, well, get ready, we are leaving tomorrow. The next day he was packing up his stuff to leave. He sighed. He seemed to be doing that a lot recently. According to his superiors, he was to train the boy in how to fight, as the boy knew him as the man who saved his and his friends' lives and was more likely to bond with him. He did not like manipulating a kid like that, but better him than someone else. Hey old man, come on, you can't be that slow in your old age. He rolled his eyes and responded, still young enough, beat you kid. As they left for the airport, both Harry and Asia were jumping around trying to see everything in sight. Sully chuckled. Despite how old the kid acted, he was still just that, a kid. Once they had boarded the plane, Harry and Asia's face were glued to the window looking at the ground below. When they finally landed, both of them were asleep. He woke Harry up and started to carry Asia to the taxi. Once there, he set Asia in the back seat with Harry sitting next to her. Once they were seated, he put the luggage into the trunk and got into the car. Once in there, he smiled at the scene. Asia was asleep with her head on Harry's chest while Harry was hugging her, hold her close to him. It was a touching moment. With a smirk, he took a picture. He was so going to mock the kid about this later. As they pulled up to the cathedral where they were going to be living for the next few years, he decided that he should let them sleep. After all, tomorrow Harry's training began and he was not going easy on him. Albus Dumbledore was having a bad day. It started great. He had just helped broker peace between two nations that were on the brink of war. But the problem was that during these sessions you are not allowed any magical items or any weapons to make sure nothing happens, as people had been assassinated in the past. Normally this would not be a problem, as he would be told if anything major came up, but he had spent the last 3 days in a closed session trying to stop either side from declaring war, and with the ring tied to the wards at number 4 Privet Drive put in a box for safekeeping, he did not find out that the wards had fallen there till they were already gone. When he called Severus and Minerva to meet him there, when they got there they saw nothing out of place. He had been half expecting the entire neighborhood to be on fire. When he had asked Arabella why she did not try and contact him, she said that she was in the hospital because she broke her leg. Walking swiftly up to the door of the house, he knocked up on the door and waited for it to be answered. When it opened, it was the boy's aunt, who did so in a quick spell confirmed that it was her. "Hello, can we? What do you want?" Her greeting had started warm, but upon seeing who it was, her voice turned cold. "May we come in, Petunia? After all, we would not want to make a scene," he said, his voice holding a sharp edge. Realizing they would not go away, she reluctantly stepped aside, letting them in. As they walked in, Snape gave a sneer. "So good to see you again, Toonie." She glared right back at him. "Sev, is that you? I almost don't recognize you without a limp and raggedy clothes," she said, voice full of venom. Dumbledore gave a small smile. Now we are just here to make sure everything is all right, as according to my scans the wards are gone and we wanted to make sure nothing is wrong," he told her with his usual grandfatherly tone. "Well, that's most likely because the boy is gone," she told him with a smirk. "If you want to find him, good luck." Dumbledore's kind eyes turned cold as ice. "What did you do?" "The wards fell, and according to the man they could not be set back up," she told him quickly, feeling an invisible pressure push down on her. "What man?" he asked, scared that someone may have taken Harry. "He called himself an exorcist, said something about 2 devils attacking and trying to kill him, and how the wards fell when the boy killed them." "Why did you not wait for me to confirm this?" He did not yell, but everyone could feel the weight behind each word. "For all you knew, the man was trying to kill you and Harry. He did not even know Harry's name when he showed up, and was just telling us we should move because the wards had fallen." That put his heart at ease. A Death Eater would not go as far as to pretend not to know Harry's name. But then the other thing she said caught up with him. "Did you say devils?" he asked. Yes, he called himself an exorcist, and that when they were trying to kill his harlot of a best friend and the freak somehow managed to kill them, and that the protections you set up had fallen. After that I did not care what he said. I threw the boy's stuff at him and told him to get out and never come back. You foolish girl, he nearly shouted. The wards would have re-established themselves if you had not kicked Harry out. Her eyes widened. What are talking about, you old coot? He said they could not be put back up. Normally this would be true, but these wards are special. So long as he lived here and called this place home, nothing would be able to harm him. They would have fixed themselves. Nothing short of his death or his 17th birthday would have caused them to truly fall. Then Dumbledore dropped all pretenses of being polite and without her knowing entered her mind when she made eye contact. What he saw disgusted him. Harry had spent years living under the stairs and was punished every time he did better than Dudley, and he saw that his uncle tried to hurt him many times and only the wards stopped him. He also saw the harlot she mentioned, and in all his years he never seen a kinder soul. The girl helped everyone with anything just because they needed help. Helping people truly made her happy. He let out a smile. At least he had a good friend. He sighed. If Harry went to the church willingly, then there was nothing he could do. They had an old treaty with the church. Harry was lost to them for now. He would have to inform the ministry. He also, as much as he hated to do it, would have to protect the Dursleys from the backlash. Boy who lived joins the church. In a shocking turn of events, Headmaster Dumbledore informs the wizarding world that their savior is now gone. According to him, the boy and his friend were attacked by devils. Instead of running, the boy stayed and bravely fought against them. The reports by the Auror Department, the same power which was at the Potter residence the night of He Who Must Not Be Named attack, did the same power defeat the creatures that attacked him as the Dark Lord. After the attack, our hero's family, finding out that he had been attacked, decided to send him to the church where they believed he would be better protected against more attacks by the devils. More on devils on page 8. More on the church on page 7. Dumbledore let out a sigh. It seemed his attempt to protect the Dursleys worked, because they were, while seen as fools, were also seen as good people who tried to protect their nephew. When Harry turned 11 he would get a Hogwarts letter. Till then he could not touch him. The morning after they landed in Italy, Harry woke up in an unfamiliar location with Asia curled up next to him. He tried to slip out of Asia's grip, but she just held him tighter. When she finally woke up an hour later, she blushed and mumbled something about being cold and him being warm. Which was true. They found out after Harry's sacred gear awoken that his body temp shot through the roof from a normal 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius, to a high 107 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius. At first worried, they eventually found out that it was normal, as he never showed any other signs of being sick, so they assumed that it was a side effect of his sacred gear and left it at that. Getting up to eat, they saw an older woman about 50 years old sitting at the table with Sully, talking about something he could not hear. Once they entered the room, Sully's gaze turned to him and he smiled. Seems like the lovebirds have woken up. Harry glared. We are not lovebirds, he stated before Sully reached inside his coat and pulled out a picture, and with a grin he asked, then what do you call this then? He said with his hand holding out the picture. Grabbing it, both Harry and Asia looked at it, blushing. It was a picture of Asia lying down on Harry's chest with his arms around her. Harry acted quickly and tore the picture to shreds. He shot a victorious grin at him before Sully grinned right back and pulled several more copies of the same picture along with several different ones. I made a lot of copies. The old woman, who been quiet till now, let out a laugh. You haven't changed a bit, Sully. Still annoying people with your presence. Sully sent her a look. At least I'm not some sadistic old woman who enjoys torturing small children. How you became a nun I'll never know, he said with a small smile showing he meant none of it. Excuse me, Asia piped up meekly on noticing the old woman, but why are you here? The woman smiled kindly. I am here to take you to the church to learn how to be a nun. Asia's eyes lit up. Really? Yes, once you eat we will be going, she informed her. But Asia stopped and grabbed Harry's arm. You mean I'm not going to be with Harry? She asked, tightening her grip on him. Don't worry, you will be able to see him, she told her, understanding that she did not want to be alone in a strange place. After hearing this, she loosed her grip but did not let go. You should eat too, recommended Sully. As soon as you're done we begin you training and it won't be easy. 3 years later, Harry, aged 10. Sully had not lied. Harry came home every day sore, barely able to move. Oftentimes Asia had to heal him. Sully said it was good practice for her powers. Personally, Harry believed he enjoyed torturing him. He got to see Asia at least once a week, though at first once a couple of weeks passed and they tried coming up with excuses for why she could not see him, but he just snuck in or walked past them. Harry did not like people trying to separate him from Asia. He could tell they did not want them to be able to rely on anyone but the church, and them being able to rely on each other put a kink in that plan. Though Harry didn't care, as he told Alduin anyone that tried to take Asia away from him he would destroy. Harry's training had been difficult. Whenever he got too much of bloated head, Sully quickly beat it out of him, and when Harry finally started to win their fights, Sully had decided it was time for him to learn how to wield a weapon. When Sully had taken him to pick what kind of weapon he wanted to use, he was pleasantly surprised to see Harry pick a weapon he would actually be able to use, not what looked the coolest like most people did. Unknown to Sully, Harry was going to do just that, but Alduin stepped in and told him that he would pick what sword Harry would use, as he clearly had no idea on how to pick a weapon. He told Harry to pick up the Ziphos. When Harry asked what that was, Alduin sighed and told him it was the short sword that was almost half his height. Harry would spend the next 2 years learning how to use the sword. While he seemed to have a natural knack for the sword, he was no prodigy. However, the advantage Harry had was his magic. Most sword users didn't know magic. Harry, on the other hand, knew plenty of magic, as with Alduin teaching him the basics and the books at the church, he quickly became an adept magic user. But according to Sully, he was only a mid-class with no experience, and any mid-class exorcist could beat him in a fight. They learned his sacred gear was called the Ebony Gauntlet, and the title that came with it was the Black Dragon Lord. Harry thought it was amazing, but after 2 years Sully finally decided that he was old enough to get a sword of his own. He was being taken to the Vatican Armory. It was a place where regular exorcist could go and pick up a weapon, nothing too special, just a normal holy sword. Walking through the halls of the weapons chamber looking for a sword that would fit him, he saw one and was about to grab it when Alduin spoke up. "Not that one, keep walking," he ordered as Harry listened to him. While he did wonder why Alduin always did what benefited himself the most, and what benefits Harry benefits him. Finally, after going into a section so far back that there was dust everywhere, Alduin finally told him to stop. Third one to left of the spear. As Harry grasped the sword, he noticed that it felt familiar, similar to his gauntlet. Alduin chuckled. "So you noticed? That sword is made out of dragon steel, one, but other than that there is nothing special to anyone but you. It is a normal, if tougher than usual, sword with no magical properties, and because dragon steel is too magically resistant to enchant, it is useless to any but you." "Why anyone but me?" One of the first things beaten into his head by both Alduin and Sully was that there was nothing special about him. When it came to fighting, he was above average, a prodigy, but any skilled magical being above mid-class would destroy him in a fight, and that he had to work to get strong, that there were no shortcuts. "Because this sword was forged in my fire. You will never find a weapon that can handle your fire better, that can channel your magic better. It will not make you more powerful, but it will help you refine your skills." Grabbing the sword, Harry walked towards the door. Before he crossed over, he asked Alduin one question. "What's the sword's name?" "Nightingale," the dragon stated. Sully looked over the sword curiously. It was finely made, that was for sure. It had 3 metal feathers at the bottom with a normal-looking grip. The pommel had a bird on it with its wings spread out as if to fly. The blade itself looked fairly normal as well, similar to an English short sword. It was well made, extremely so, but that was all there was to it. It had no enchantments of any kind, hell, it didn't even have a holy factor. He looked up to Harry. "Are you sure this is the blade you want? Once you take this, I'm not coming back just because you don't like it," he told Harry, wanting to make sure if he was serious. However, Harry just nodded. "Yes, it's exactly the sword I want. It's perfect for me." Sully was starting to wonder if his constant speeches on how magic can't fix every problem may have caused him to deem it useless. Oh well, he shrugged. Not his problem, the kid would learn. Heading back to the house where they stayed, Harry was pleasantly surprised to see Asia waiting there for him. As Asia ran up to hug him, he hugged her back. Sully gave a sad smile. The kids' feelings for one another were obvious even if they would not see it. But the church would never allow it. She was a nun, she would be kicked out for doing such a thing, and Harry would hate himself for it. Sully was under no illusions that Harry saw the church as anything but a means to an end. He would only stay so long as Asia did. If she left, he was gone as well. "Harry, get ready," called Sully early one morning from his room. It had been a week since Harry got his sword, and Alduin was right, his magic flowed through it amazingly well. However, it was his fire that shocked him. He always had to coax his fire out to cover a weapon, and even then it would normal melt fairly quickly, but now it rushed onto the blade with barely any effort on his part. Harry snapped himself out of his thoughts. "Why?" he asked. He thought he had the day to relax. Sully walked into the room with a smile. "We have a mission." Harry's face lit up at hearing that he had wanted to go on a mission for years, but Sully always said he was too young to go on one. Harry jumped up and started packing. One of the things Sully taught him was what to pack when you go on missions is most overpacked, underpacked, or packed the wrong things. Seeing Harry running around throwing things into his bag, Sully chuckled. "Kid's doing better than I did when I got ready for my first mission." Looking back, he saw Harry stop and start running down the stairs. As he heard a door open, he called out to Harry, "Where are you going?" Harry turned around and shouted to him, to say goodbye to Asia. Running to the church where Asia lived, Harry ran through the halls. Before coming upon her room, he walked in and shook her awake, rubbing her eyes. Asia let out a small yawn. "Wah, Ari," she mumbled out, still mostly asleep. Harry was so excited that he said it all in one breath. "I'm going on a mission, finally, isn't that great?" Asia just looked confused, still in the process of waking up. So Harry took a deep breath and said more slowly, "I'm going on a mission, isn't that great?" As he finished saying that, Asia hugged him tightly and shook her head in denial. "No, you're not going, it's too dangerous." As Harry tried to get out of her grip, she just held him tighter. For such a small little thing, she has one hell of a grip. Harry thought, struggling to get free. "Asia, let go of me," he commanded. "Never," she said, shaking her head. "If I do, you'll leave and will get hurt." It took an hour of talking to convince her to let go. Sully showed up halfway through to see what was taking him so long and just started laughing once he saw the predicament he was in. After finally getting free, Harry glared at the man. "Thanks for the help," he said sarcastically, fuming at how Sully stood there and laughed. He wasn't surprised, but he was still annoyed. Sully just grinned. "It was my pleasure, and you should be thankful I packed for you," he told the wizard, holding a bag in the air. Grabbing it, Harry made to leave before Asia grabbed his hand. "Please be careful," she begged him. Once he nodded, she let go. According to Sully, the mission was a simple one: go into a forest and deal with the 2 to 3 Minotaur in there. Based on what he read and was told by Sully, that Minotaur are dangerous mainly because of their physical strength, and that magic was the fastest way to deal with them. This was a great first mission for Harry, as a lot of his skills laid magic, if not in the traditional sense. Wandering through the forest, Harry looked around for any trace of a Minotaur. The good news is that it would not be difficult for them to find the beasts, as they are very prideful and find any creatures wandering in their territory an insult. Finally found something, the mage thought, looking down at the giant hoof print. Activating the communication spell, he called Sully. "I found the Minotaur. I'm going on ahead." "Fine, but do not attack until I get there. Just scope it out and tell me how many of them there are," was the response he got from Sully. That was his favorite thing about him. He did not coddle Harry, but he didn't throw him to the dogs either. Following the tracks, he wandered through the underbrush before coming on a large cave. Sneaking in, he proceeded with caution. One wrong move and he'd be screwed. Looking around, he saw a ledge that overlooked the main cavern. Getting to the top, he put a hand to his mouth when he saw the remnants of the hikers and rangers. "Oh shit," he thought. Cursing, that was a lot more than 2 or 3 Minotaur. It was more like 2 to 3 dozen Minotaur. Calling Sully, he told him this. "Damn, this is bullshit. No way they could miss that many. Someone either messed with the report or did not do their job. My money's on the second one. The guy who scooped this out as a notorious slacker figures he would make a mistake on this." He took a deep breath before exhaling. "Listen kid, don't move, stay there and stay quiet." Hearing what sounded like guns going off, Harry turned around and saw 2 Minotaur running towards him. Cursing, the sacred gear user jumped to left, barely avoiding the beasts. Pulling his sword out, he sliced into the nearest Minotaur, killing it before being hit by the other's club, sending him flying into a wall. "Bit late for that, old man, better hurry it up." Jumping up, he parried a blow from the club. Shaking his arms, he noticed they felt a bit numb. Note to self, don't do that again. He ducked under the next swing and brought his sword up hoping to taking off the creature's arm, but all he did was give it a bad cut. Remembering what Sully told him about them being vulnerable to magic, he jumped back before sending several fireballs at the monster. It batted away half before being overwhelmed and being engulfed in fire. Harry let out a sigh of relief once the fire cleared and the Minotaur laid dead on the ground. As he tried to sneak out, he saw several more Minotaur coming up top. He swore it seemed that his fight with the others drew their attention. Seeing one step forward while the rest formed a circle, he let out a smirk. He could deal with at least half before he could not fight anymore if they attacked one by one, and Sully would be here soon. As he sized his opponent up, he saw that it wore a small amount of armor, not much but enough to identify as leader. Holding his sword out, he let his flames cover it. Seeing this, the Minotaur took the battle axe off its back, roared and charged him. Knowing that trying to take its attack head-on was suicide, he rolled to the left and tried to take its arm off, but he was blocked by the axe. Of course it knows how to fight. It would not be fair if it was just a mindless brute. Trying again, he was blocked once more before following up with a flaming kick to the head, causing it stumbling back, smirking when he saw he took a horn off. The monster let out a roar of rage and rushed him, trying to take his head off. Dodging its strikes, Harry saw what little intelligence it had was consumed by rage. Coming up with a plan, he led the Minotaur to the edge of the circle, waiting for it to take a swing at him. He jumped over the Minotaur, with him having jumped the other Minotaur to the hit in his place, killing 3 of the landing. He took his sword and stabbed it in the back, killing it. Almost letting out a sigh of relief, he dodged at the last second. Looking at the Minotaur that attacked him, he saw the others rushing him as well. It seemed with their leader dead and him having killed 3 others in the process, they decided to cut their losses and just kill him. Sending a huge burst of fire forming a wall, he ran deeper into the cavern. Looking around for something to use, he saw a lighter and can of hairspray. He grabbed them and lit the hairspray on fire, absorbing it to replenish his reserves. He frowned when he realized that he was still only at half power. Climbing on top of pillar nearest to the entrance, he waited for the first few to enter. Seeing 6 rush in, he sent a massive burst of flames at them before jumping down on the nearest one, hoping to catch it by surprise. Now, while any exorcist with experience will tell you that 85% of the magical creatures they hunt have enhanced senses and will sniff you out a mile away. But Harry, despite his skill, was very inexperienced, so he was shocked when the Minotaur turned around and swung at him, knocking him out of the air, and while he still taken its arm off, it was about to take his head off. Laying there, he saw the Minotaur come at him with one last act of defiance. He brought his gauntlet up and sent a burst of fire at it, killing the monster, but he knew the others would kill him. He may have killed a dozen, but there was still another dozen to deal with. Falling into sweet embrace of unconsciousness, he heard a massive roar before finally succumbing to his injuries. Sitting up with a gasp, Harry looked around to see where he was. Seeing Sully sitting next to him, he let out a relieved sigh that meant he was safe. "You okay, kid? You took quite the hit to noggin, and I don't think you can afford to lose the brain cells," the middle-aged man joked, trying to lighten the mood. Harry frowned. What happened? He asked. Last thing he remembers was killing the Minotaur and hearing a roar, then nothing. "You did good, kid. Managed to take out half before I got there. I managed to take the few by surprise as they were looking for you. Did not even notice me until it was too late. Found you out cold in the cavern with a couple of dead Minotaur around you," the elder man told him before continuing. "The guy who gave us bad information has been severely punished. After all, can't have people thinking we don't have good information networks. Could get us into a lot of trouble with the other factions." He smiled at that. "Good dumbass deserves it. Nearly got him killed." Getting up, he started to get dressed. As he did, he saw next to his sword was the Minotaur horn he cut off from the leader. Walking up to it, he picked it up and inspected it. It was about the length of dagger while being twice as wide. Flipping it in his hand a couple of times, he put it into his bag, thinking it would make a cool souvenir. "Come on, kid, let's go, otherwise your girlfriend is going to get worried." "She is not my girlfriend." Sully chuckled, that never failed to get a reaction out of him. "Oomph," Harry grunted as Asia tackled him in a hug before looking him over for injuries. When she touched his ribs, he winced. "What happened? Where does it hurt? Are you okay?" She fired off rapidly as she activated her twilight healing. When she realized the full extent of his injuries, her eyes narrowed and she turned to Sully with a frown. "You said this was going to be a simple mission." She was worried if this was a simple mission, what would happen on the more dangerous ones. It was supposed to be, he defended, but it turns out that the agent in the area gave us bad info and did not do his job properly. Asia's frown disappeared and she turned her attention back her patient. As she healed him they heard a tapping at the window. As Sully walked over he saw it was a barn owl of all things with a letter tied to its leg. Opening the window he took the letter from its carrier. What? He joked as he untied the letter, all the carrier pigeons busy. Reading the front of the letter his eyes narrowed. Harry, it is for you. Placing it on the table Harry carefully examined the letter, casting several detection spells on it to make sure it was not a trap. Once he had confirmed it was safe he picked it up and read it. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. Order of Merlin, First Class, Grand Sork, CHF. Warlock, Supreme Mugwump, International Confed, of Wizards. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on the 1st of September. We await your owl by no later than the 31st of July. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Second page. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First-year students will require 1. 3 sets of plain work robes black. 2. 1 plain pointed hat black for day wear. 3. 1 pair of protective gloves dragon hide or similar. 4. 1 winter cloak black, with silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. Course books. All students should have a copy of each of the following. The Standard Book of Spells Grade 1. By Miranda Goshawk. A History of Magic. By Bathilda Bagshot. Magical Theory. By Adalbert Waffling. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration. By Emmerich Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi. By Felida Spore. Magical Drafts and Potions. By Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. By Newt Scamander. The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection. By Quentin Trimble. Other Equipment. 1 wand. 1 cauldron pewter, standard size 2. 1 set glass or crystal files. 1 telescope. 1 set brass scales. Students may also bring, if they desire, an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomstick. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall. Harry turned to Sully. Any idea if this is legit? He asked. Nope, but I will check. He answered before walking out of the room. It was 2 hours later when he returned. School checks out. It is based in Scotland, teaches young witches and wizards how to use their magic. So what, it's a school for magicians? Harry asked, skeptical. He had met quite a few magicians and not one had mentioned a school in Scotland. No wizards, there is a difference, I asked. Sully informed him. Apparently wizarding magic is more versatile while magicians' magic is more powerful. So what, me and Asia go to Hogwarts now? He grumbled, not liking the idea of someone else controlling his life. Actually, if Asia was going to invited, she would have been before you as she is older than you. Other than that, it's your choice whether or not you go. Sully told him before asking. So are you going to go? He asked as if he did not know the answer. There was not a chance in hell Harry was going to go if Asia wasn't going. No, was all he said before getting up and grabbing a pen from the table. Walking back he picked up the letter, flipped it over and scribbled a quick response. Going up the owl that was still sitting there, he tied the letter to the bird claw. Seeing that its purpose had been fulfilled, the bird flew back to its master. Minerva McGonagall liked to consider herself a reasonable person, but as she was going through paperwork which mainly consisted of acceptance letter as term had yet to start, she saw another owl fly in with an acceptance letter. She took the letter before dismissing the bird. Reading the address on it, her eyes widened when she read the name on it. Harry Potter was name that had saved the wizarding world but had also nearly gotten Dumbledore removed from most of his positions, as many of his enemies tried to use the boy who lived as an example of how he was out of his prime and that he should retire before someone got killed. Luckily his supporters respond just as fast, stating that his wards were so powerful that they managed protect him when he was half a mile away from the source, using it as an example that he was just as powerful as ever. In the end that plan backfired on them as people saw Dumbledore as more powerful than ever as he managed to keep two high-class magical beings on par with an Inner Circle Death Eater from hurting him despite the fact that the wards only passively defended against such threats. Reading the letter she blinked and read it again checking the charm to make sure that it was Harry Potter who got the letter and responded she reread it one more time. All that was written were 3 simple words, no thank you. The boy who lived not coming to Hogwarts preposterous it would be a scandal never seen before. It would be the greatest shame that they had in centuries. Not since the last heir of Ravenclaw, too, was killed on campus had such a shame happened. So yes, she believed she was perfectly reasonable in marching up the stairs to the headmaster's office despite the fact he was in the middle of a meeting with the minister. The minister Cornelius Fudge was a portly little man, with rumpled gray hair and his lime green bowler hat in hand. "Headmaster, may we talk in private?" she growled out in a tone that said obey or die. The minister gulped and prepared to leave before he caught sight of what she was holding in her hand. Now he was not the smartest person around, but he had seen enough Hogwarts letters to recognize one on sight. As he peered closer he paled. It was the letter of Harry Potter, and if Minerva was mad because of this it could be nothing good. "Of course Minerva," Dumbledore responded before turned to the minister. "We will have to continue at a later time Cornelius, I do apologize." But Cornelius was having none of it. His predecessor had made the mistake of trusting Dumbledore on such matters, and while she was not impeached she was not re-elected either. "Dumbledore, I must insist that I stay. I am no fool, and if that letter has something to do with Harry Potter I demand to be involved." Fudge objected to being forced out. Dumbledore sighed. "Fine Cornelius. Now Minerva, you were saying?" he asked turning to the female professor. "Harry Potter has refused to come to Hogwarts," she stated. Dumbledore frowned. He assumed this might happen when the church took him in. While wizards did not have any qualms with them, it was rare a member of the church went to a wizarding school, as most would be taught by the church itself. Fudge on the other hand was panicking. The public would vilify them if word got out that the boy who lived decided not to come to Hogwarts. When he took this job he thought it was going to be fairly easy, nothing major, sign a few documents here, accept a donation there, and that was it, live a normal happy life. But this would ruin him. He turned to Dumbledore. "What do we do? We will be ruined if word of this gets out," he begged, hoping that Dumbledore as always would have a solution. But he had no such luck. "What can we do? It is his choice. If he does not want to go, there is nothing we can do to change that," Dumbledore said remorsefully. He was honestly sad that the child would not come, but he would not do anything to force the boy to change his mind. It is his choice, and he would be damned if he forced him to do something against his will just to satisfy some bureaucrats. Suddenly Fudge sat up. "We could visit him. Convince him to come, that it would be in his benefit to go to Hogwarts. Show some magic. Plenty of children would jump for the chance to learn magic." Dumbledore and McGonagall raised an eyebrow. It seems the old proverb was true, even a broken clock was right twice a day. That was a fairly good idea. After all, they were sure they could convince him to come to Hogwarts. Getting up, the minister prepared to leave. "Shall we visit him on, say," he said, looking through a couple of papers he had, "next Monday?" he asked, turning to the pair of professors. "That sound great, minister. Have a pleasant day." Dumbledore smiled at him before he vanished if a flash of green fire. As soon as he was gone he sighed. Something told him letting Cornelius come along would come back to bite him. The following Monday Harry was sitting on the couch relaxing after another hard day of training. Apparently Sully had taken it as a personal insult that his student had to be saved regardless of the circumstances, and as such had double up on his training. Asia was sitting right next to him dozing off. She recently been getting many more people to heal, where before she got maybe 10 people a week, now she got more than 30 at least. Hearing a doorbell ring woke Asia up. Rubbing her eyes she let out a yawn before stretching. While Asia was waking up, Harry had gotten up and walked to the door. As he got near, his eyes narrowed. A benefit of the subspecies of his gauntlet was that he could sense changes in magic of areas he was familiar with. Preparing himself for a fight, he opened the door. What he saw there made him blink. He rubbed his eyes. Looking again, nope, still there. There were 3 strangely dressed people standing there. One was a color-blind old man that looked like how one would expect Merlin to look, dressed in what seemed to be robes. Were those birds moving? Yes, they were. He sighed before looking to the person next to him. It was a stern-looking woman who reminded of some of the more serious nuns dressed in dark forest green robes. Next there was the most normal-looking of them, a portly man with graying hair with a suit and green bowler hat. "May I help you?" he asked, giving up on trying to make sense of the situation. "Yes," the color-blind man answered. "We are representatives of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I am the headmaster Albus Dumbledore, and we would like to talk with you about your admittance to the school." "May we come in?" he asked with a twinkle in his eye and a grandfatherly smile on his face. "There is nothing to talk about. I am not going to your school. Goodbye." With that he made to close the door. However, before he could, he found the stern-looking woman spoke up. "Mr. Potter, if it is you do not believe in magic, we can show." She began before being cut off. "I know perfectly well that magic is real. I just do not wish to go to your school." Emphasizing his point, he turned around and used magic to slam the door shut and went back inside. Minerva looked on in shock. How rude. She thought, ignoring the fact that she showed up on his doorstep unannounced with no care for his own personal plans and expected him to conform to them. Dumbledore, on the other hand, more pensive, he saw what Mr. Potter. He also noticed the powerful ward surrounding the place. Nothing to write home about, but certainly powerful. That meant that he had training, or at the very least knew someone who practiced magic. But what worried him was that Harry's magic permitted the entire ward scheme, meaning that he set this up and it felt not like wizarding magic but magician's magic, and they were far more powerful than the average wizard. But what confused him was that it was impossible for a wizard to learn magician's magic. They were too different. It was like mixing oil and water. It never worked out. Walking back up to the door, he knocked once more. Wait for a response. He saw the door open. "What do you want?" he asked curtly, giving them an annoyed look. "I am sorry, Mr. Potter. I understand you do not wish to Hogwarts, but there are other matters to talk about." "Now may we come in?" Harry said. Wizard was about to refuse when he sensed just how much power this man had. It was immense. He could easily say that every magical being combined that he had ever met was nothing compared to this man, and judging by his age, he had the experience and skill to back up that power. "Fine, come in," he said, stepping aside, ignoring the elder woman's mumbling about how rude he was. He held back a snort. He was rude. They were the ones who did not understand the meaning of the word no. As they entered the family room and took their seats, Asia stuck her head out of the kitchen where she was cooking lunch. "Who was it, Harry?" she asked before noticing the people behind him. "Oh, hello. My name is Asia, and who are you?" she questioned with a kind smile, one that Albus returned. "My name is Albus Dumbledore, headmaster of a school in Scotland that we wish for Harry to join, and my companions are," he began before Asia interrupted him. "You mean Hogwarts? That school for magic?" Fudge let out a sigh. "Mr. Potter, you may not know this, but you can't tell muggles, people with no magic, about magic." Pulling out his wand. "Don't worry though, this an easy fix." Pulling his wand out, he began the spell to wipe her mind. Obliva, before being cut off by Harry stepping in front of him, grabbing his wrist, twisting it, forcing him to drop his wand. Once he dropped his wand, Harry stepped on it, snapping it in half. All this happened in under a single second. Fudge did not even see him move. All Minerva saw was a blur. Dumbledore, on the other hand, saw everything, each move he made, and what he saw worried him. Harry had moved with efficiency that spoke of years of practice. Letting the minister go, he spoke. "Try that again and I break your hand." He walked up to Asia, looking her over for any sign of injury. Find none. He turned back around to find McGonagall and saw her frowning at him. "Mr. Potter, that was incredibly inappropriate. The minister was just following the law. Non-magicals can't know about the wizarding world." "Oh," he glared, "and it is appropriate to pull a weapon out in someone else's home without their permission and try and use on someone they know nothing about," he rebutted. "Besides, Asia does have magic. Just because you don't know her does not mean she does not have magic. Now I believe you have overstayed your welcome. Now please leave." "Why, I never," McGonagall began before Harry interrupted her once more. "Learned any manners? I can believe that. Now get out." The minister was only trying to help. There was no need to be extreme, and a wand is not a weapon, it is a tool. She refuted. "Really? So you can't wave your wand and kill someone instantly with your wand? You can't cause someone unimaginable pain with a simple word? You can't force them to do something against their will? You can't break their bones with ease?" When she did not deny his statements, he continued, then it is a weapon. Now leave, he ordered. Dumbledore sighed. This went nothing like how he expected. He did not think they would change his mind, but for him to become so hostile. This was the opposite of what he wanted. He had planned on establishing a friendly relationship with the young man, let him know he could trust him. But thanks to Cornelius, that plan was out the window. Getting up to leave, he saw Minerva get ready to object, but he stopped her. Minerva, we have clearly overstayed our welcome. Let us go before it becomes any worse. Reaching into his pocket, he pulled his hand out in shock. Mr. Potter, I'm sorry, but it seems in my haste to get here I forgot the key to the trust vault that your parents set up to help you. I will send it to you within a week. It will allow you to access your vault. If you would like, I could show you to the nearest location. Considering it for a second, the young wizard shook his head. No thank you. If you would not mind providing me directions to this bank, though, it would be much appreciated. Nodding, Dumbledore summoned a piece of paper and wrote a set of instructions on how to get to the bank. Turning around, he nodded. Have a good day. Before leaving with the minister and the professor trailing behind him. Boy who lived refuses to come to Hogwarts. In a shocking turn of events, young Harry Potter, the boy who lived, refused to come to Hogwarts when the Minister of Magic himself, along with the headmaster and Professor McGonagall, went to go meet with the young man to try and convince him to go to Hogwarts. The situation quickly turned to the worst with the chilly welcome they received. It seemed that despite what many believed, the boy who lived was fully aware of magic, and not only that but had training. Upon being refused entry, the headmaster managed to convince Mr. Potter to allow them entry. Once inside, a young woman whose name is currently unknown to us appeared, spoke to Mr. Potter before revealing she knew about magic. Preparing to follow proper ministry procedure, the minister drew his wand to obliviate knowledge of magic from her mind. Mr. Potter acted in a brutal fashion, nearly breaking the minister's arm and snapping his wand. After doing so, he kicked them out of his house, saying they had overstayed their welcome. After exchanging a few more words with Mr. Potter, they left. The question is, what made Mr. Potter reject going to Hogwarts? Is it Dumbledore's fault for allowing him to be placed there, or is there another reason? Finishing the paper, he heard Severus Snape, who had also just finished, scoff. Of course the boy is attention-seeking enough to do something like this. Whatever do you mean? Asked Professor Phileas Flitwick, not understanding how this was attention-seeking. The boy refused to go to Hogwarts. He did not destroy a city. He clearly loving the attention he is getting from this. The boy is probably just waiting for us to come back and beg him to come. Snape ridiculed the boy despite having never met him before. Now Severus, Dumbledore chided lightly, the boy honestly does not want to come. He did not bother sending a message asking why he should go. He just refused to come. It has happened before. Honestly, Severus, let go of that stupid grudge. The man has been dead for 10 years. Get over it. McGonagall told him, exasperated with the grudge he refused to let go. Snape just remained quiet, not wanting to get in an argument with her. 2 days later, Harry was once more sitting on the couch with Asia when a flash fire appeared in the middle of the room. Jumping up, Harry summoned his gauntlet and pulled out his sword while pushing Asia behind him. Seeing it was a bird, he raised an eyebrow and took a closer look and noticed it was Phoenix with a letter clutched in its claw. But who would have one? He did not know anyone with one, and he doubted Sully knew somebody with one. Walking up to the bird, he plucked the letter from it. Opening the letter, he was surprised when a gold key fell out. Picking it up, he saw it had a stylized griffin on it. Reading the letter, he saw it was his vault key from Dumbledore, and the bird was a phoenix, which he already knew, but it was nice to have it confirmed, and that it was named Fox. Hearing a giggle, he looked up and saw Fox rubbing its head against Asia, crooning. Harry let out a small smile upon seeing this. Phoenixes were attracted to beings of kindness and that are selfless, and Harry could not think of anyone who fit that description better than Asia. Looking at the bird, he was in complete disbelief when it flew around and landed on his shoulder. Harry stared at it in shock. Was there something wrong with this bird? He was the farthest thing from selfless. If he had to choose between the world and Asia, the world could burn for all he cared. He sighed and dismissed the bird, where it promptly went right back to Asia. The phoenix stayed for a few more hours before leaving later that night in a flash of fire. When Fox finally returned, Dumbledore looked up with a smile. Did you have fun? He asked with a twinkle in his eye. The phoenix just gave a trill and ate from it dish. Albus chuckled. Something told him that Fox had a new favorite. A few days later saw Harry following Dumbledore's instructions on how to get to Gringotts. Walking into the pub, he raised an eyebrow. There were many ways into the shopping district, but this was the closest. Turning to the manager, he asked, "Any idea on how to get to Magira corridor?" The man just smiled and led him to the back, assuming he was a student here to get his supplies. Pointing to a door that said pull, the man told him, "Just put your hand on the handle, twist it to the right, then push and twist it again, then pull it out." He demonstrated. As the door seemed to slide up, he saw it opened an archway that led to the magical shopping district. Thanking to the man, he asked if he knew where Gringotts was, and he was directed to the large marble building around the corner. Walking up to it, saw there was a message on the front. Reading it, he smirked. He liked it. "Enter, stranger, but take heed of what awaits the sin of greed. For those who take, but do not earn, must pay most dearly in their turn. So if you seek beneath our floors a treasure that was never yours, thief, you have been warned, beware of finding more than treasure there." The guards standing out front tensed at seeing him, their sensitive noses smelling dragon on him, and gave a nod of respect. They did not trust him, but they respected his power. Seeing it was a slow day, he walked up to the nearest counter that had a goblin counting what seemed to be magic gems and waited for him to finish. After several seconds, the goblin looked up. "May we help you?" It asked. Normally it would have made him wait a minute or two, make him uncomfortable and annoy him. But true dragons were notoriously prideful, and they have done worse than destroy a bank for less. "Yes, I was told I have vault at Gringotts. I would like access it," he informed the goblin, holding out his key. Grabbing the key from him, the goblin placed the key on a special scale to make sure it was legitimate. It seemed to have checked out as the goblin just looked up. "Yes, you do, Mr. Potter. How much would you like to withdraw?" he questioned. Thinking for a moment, "Is it possible for me to see how much I have access to?" The goblin nodded. "Yes, just give me a moment." Getting up, he walked into a back room, not emerging for several minutes. Once he came out, he had a fair-sized folder. Handing it Harry, he opened it. Reading it, his jaw dropped at how much money he had. Looking up, he asked, "What is the conversion rate of gallons to euros?" "It is €7.50 to a gallon, 17 sickles to a gallon, and 29 nuts to a sickle." Nodding, Harry did some quick mental math. He had 50,000 gallons in his trust vault. That meant he had about 375,000 in a trust vault. He was almost worried about how much was in the family vault. Looking at it, he blinked. That was a lot of it. The statements, he noticed that there's several major deposits that happened around 10 years ago, adding almost 10 million to his account. Wondering what it was, but wanting to make his withdraw, he looked up. "May I withdraw 200 gallons? he asked, not planning on coming back anytime soon. "Yes, you can. Would you like to go down to your vault or withdraw from up here?" "What is the difference between the two?" he asked, not understanding why you would go down to the vault if you could withdraw from up here. "There is a small fee of 10 gallons to withdraw from up here, along with 500-gallon limit to your withdraw." Nodding, Harry thought about it. They had to make profit somehow, and even if was a bit expensive, plenty of people were often in a hurry and would pay that much to speed thing up. "Then I would like to withdraw from up here, half in gallons, half in euros," he answered, grunting. The goblin turned several knobs before putting the key in a small slot. Pulling the key out, a small bag appeared in the box with a pop. Grabbing it, he handed it to Harry, raising an eyebrow on how such a small bag could hold so much, but just guessed magic. Opening it, he saw there was easily 200 gallons worth of money in there. Closing it, he nodded to the goblin before leaving. As he left, the goblin let out a sigh. Normally they would have made him wait and give him slow service like most wizards, but as the old saying goes, don't tickle a sleeping dragon, better help him and get him out of there as fast as possible. They normally don't even tell wizards about the withdrawal from up here to mess with them with the carts, but he just wanted him gone. Would not do for him to go on a rampage for some imagined or accidental slight. Walking out of the bank, Harry headed to the nearest bookstore to read about wizarding history and law. After all, it would not do to be caught off guard by a law. One of the first things Sully taught him was politics and how they could be just as dangerous as magic. Walking into the store and wandering around for a bit, he saw several books in the fiction section with name on them. Now that itself was not that weird, as his name was not uncommon, but what was rare was lightning bolt scar on one's forehead with messy black hair and emerald green. Up the book, he read the inside cover in honor of the boy who lived. Eyes narrowed, he walked up to the counter. "Excuse me, do you have any factual books on the boy who lived?" he asked politely. The woman at the counter looked up. "Of course sweetie, come on, let me show you where they are." Getting out from behind the counter, she started walking to the back area. "Here you go," she said, pointing at a small shelf. "You will want Rise and Fall of the Dark Arts, Greatest Wizards of the 20th Century and—" She continued to grab several books before finally Harry had a pile of 5 books, grabbing a few history books as well. He walked to the counter to pay the total, coming out to 8 gallons and 7 sickles. Walking out of the store, he quickly went home to read the books. Putting the 3rd book down, he realized why they sent so many important people to try and get him to come to Hogwarts. He was famous, and not Will Smith famous, but more like JFK, Winston Churchill famous, a war hero, helping finally end a war that had been going on for 7 years. He somehow took out the leader of the opposite side of the war. No wonder they tried so hard to get him to come. Harry Potter not going to Hogwarts was like the president living in Canada. A shame that the leaders would not be able to handle without getting into some major political trouble. He also found that Dumbledore was apparent the most powerful wizard alive, being an ultimate class capable of easily destroy most of the Vatican before someone would be able to stop, and even then they would most likely die with him. So his previous assessment of his power was an understatement. He was lucky Dumbledore was willing to leave him alone because he had no chance of stopping him, at least not yet. Harry was knocked back with hard kick. He was in the middle of training with another boy his age, and to his surprise he was losing. Harry was both stronger and faster than him, but no matter what he tried, the other guy spear blocked him at the last second. Finally managing to get through his guard, Harry blocked his spear with his own sword, using one hand and punching him in stomach with the other. As the boy went down, he lashed out with a kick. That was another strange thing about him. Despite being a lancer, he used his legs to fight more often than not. Getting up to attack again, he heard the instructor call time. Straightening out, he walked forward before holding his hand out to his opponent. Harry could respect a strong opponent, and this boy nearly had him beat. "Harry Potter," he said in a blank tone that had become normal with him. Holding his hand out, the boy grasped it while smiling. "Marcus Hunter." Harry gave a slight smirk, showing his sharper than normal teeth. A side effect Alduin had called it from using his fires to heal himself, that because they carried the power of a dragon, that by using its raw unaltered power to heal himself, it was slowly but surely changing what he was. He was becoming more draconic. According to Alduin, he was around 3.76% dragon. At the rate he was going, he would be 10% by his 14th birthday. Harry let go of Marcus's arm and started to pack up. As he was leaving to head, he heard someone call out to him. Looking over his shoulder, he saw it was Marcus. "Wait up," he called. Giving him a bland look, Harry asked, "Why are you following me?" "Because when you and shook hands, I sensed something. I sensed the potential for greatness caused by yours truly, of course," the spear wielder stated, giving a humble bow. "That's funny. I remember kicking your when we fought." "PFF's shish, details, they're not that important," he said, trying to shrug it off. "No, they are pretty important. You're just an idiot," Harry retorted before walking away. Half an hour later. "Leave me alone," Harry nearly shouted. Marcus would not go away. He just kept following and annoying him. "Nope, more fun this way," he said with a grin. Harry was about ready to take his sword out and run him through. "If I agree to be your friend, will you leave me alone for now?" he asked, desperate to get rid of him. "Yes," he said without a moment's hesitation. "Fine, we're friends now, leave me alone," he said, trying to get away from him. Before he could, Marcus slung his arm around Harry's shoulders. "Mr. Potter, I believe this is the start of a beautiful friendship. Great, now get off me." In the end, Marcus was right. While at first he did not want Marcus anywhere near Asia, as he was extremely overprotective of her. But Marcus showed he meant no harm, slowly earning Harry's trust. Eventually Marcus revealed the reason he used his legs in combat so much. Apparently he had a sacred gear called Legs of Lightning, which allowed him to move and strike with the power of lightning. Not that he was that fast or powerful yet, but he was on his way. Another power was that he could channel his lightning into his spear and shock opponents or send blasts of lightning at them. They also learned of his backstory, how he was from a family of exorcists, but when he was 8, a stray exorcist attacked his family because his father had revealed his crimes to the church. The attack had killed everyone but him, and he only survived because his sacred gear awakened, allowing him to escape before he could be caught. Once he had found out the man's name, he trained himself to the ground to get revenge on him, to get revenge on Fried Selzen. For Harry, his sacred gear had, according to Alduin, gained its completed form. His gauntlet remained the same, but he got a pair of large gargoyle-like wings. They were massive, being as tall as him, with ebony metal where the bones would be and red crystal in place of the leathery skin between. Alduin told him they were to vent the excess fire he absorbed and to intimidate his enemies, after all, who would not be scared of a being with black wings coated in fire coming down from the sky. On the wizarding side of things, Harry had made a deal with the goblins to get his sword enchanted. Apparently Alduin was wrong about dragon steel, as goblins were one of the few, if not only, species that could enchant it. In exchange for enchanting his sword, he gave them dragon steel to work with. Apparently it was a major ingredient in many powerful ward schemes, being one of the few metals on Earth capable of withstanding the magical power that flowed through it. By giving them the metal, they helped him with his investments at a reasonable price, which, considering they normally charged a small fortune for such thing, he was lucky. In 2 years he had managed to double his bank account. Between acting as the middleman for him to sell the steel and the money they made from the wards, he thinks he is the only human a goblin has ever truly smiled at, and it creeped him the out. Ironically, despite the price he paid, his sword only had 3 enchantments on it, and they were pretty basic too. Flame Enhancer, which made his fire even hotter, which was extremely hot considering he melted through 2 feet of solid steel in about half a second. The other made his blade twice as sharp, and the last was an anti-summoning charm, making it so no one but him could summon it. "Watch out behind you," Marcus called as he ducked another swing from the Inferni. According to the mission report, a small-time stray magician had decided to step up his game, and the church sent Harry and Marcus to deal with him. What was not known was he apparently was setting up a mass Inferni conjuration spell, nearly overrunning the nearby town with 500 undead. Luckily, that seemed to be the limit to how many it could summon at any one time. Unfortunately, they found this out after they killed the man, so they did not know how to stop it except for destroying the source, which was in the middle of the cemetery. So here they were trying to fight through a seemingly never-ending horde of the undead. Slicing through another one, he smirked. He loved his job. He got to beat the crap out of things and blow stuff up, and got rewarded for it. Finally reaching the center of the cemetery, they saw the source of the undead. It was a large crystal hanging over several coffins that kept summoning zombies. Seeing the target, Marcus let loose a blast of lightning, not expecting it to do anything, and was quite surprised when it destroyed the crystal. "Well, that was anticlimactic," Harry stated, gathering the remnants of the gem. "Yeah, kind of a letdown." Marcus agreed, turning around to leave. "Let's go, I'm sure your girlfriend misses you." "She's not my girlfriend," he called back before following him. Harry had just gotten back home after the mission with the undead, and his head was killing him, or more specifically his scar. This was not uncommon, as it had been happening to him for as long as he could remember. But within the last few months they had been steadily getting worse as time went on. As he felt another headache coming on, he excused himself to go lie down and rest. But he only got 5 feet away from the couch when he collapsed. The last thing he saw before slipping away was Asia's face as she called his name. Waking up, Harry saw that he was within his head, and turning to face Alduin, he asked, "What's wrong with me? Why am I so sick?" Wondering why he had been feeling so weak recently. "You're not sick, at least not in the traditional sense," Alduin told him. "Stop speaking in riddles, just tell me what's wrong with me." Annoyed at why Alduin was suddenly speaking vague and dodging the question. "Something is attempting to possess you." "But how? None of my missions have ever been near anything that could possess me before." All his missions were pretty straightforward: go here, kill this, find this, bring it back here. He never had anything complex that involved possession as a mission. He magic laid in a completely different area of expertise. "Not on a mission," Alduin told him. "Before all that, before you knew what magic was, before you met your woman. The first time you faced death. Voldemort," he whispered, "an ultimate class dark wizard. He's trying to possess me. How has he not succeeded already?" Harry was good, but as a small baby, Voldemort should have easily taken him over. Not all of him, just a fragment, but yes, Voldemort. The reason he has not possessed you is simple: the protection your mother gave you held him back, and when that fell, I did so. But now he has finally managed to break past the defenses. You must face him or lose yourself." Harry took a deep breath. He could take on a fragment of Voldemort, not a fully powered Voldemort, but a weakened fragment with Alduin backing him up he could defeat. "Where is he?" Harry asked. Alduin indicated with his tail pointing in another direction as Harry went to confront the murderer of his parents. Alduin stopped him. Be careful, you do not have the element of surprise here. He knows you every move. While you know none of his, do not underestimate him because he is a fragment. He is just as powerful as you with decades of experience. Nodding in acknowledgement, Harry continued to go confront the Dark Lord. As he went to confront Voldemort, he notices the distinct feeling of wrongness that permeated air. That this place should not exist. When he arrived at his destination, he let out a small snort, cliché much. The Dark Lord sat on a throne made of skulls with fire surrounding him. How original, he thought. Before pulling out his sword and summoning his gauntlet hoping to catch him by surprise, he unleashed a fury of fire at the Dark Lord. But unsurprisingly, he sensed Harry's arrival and blocks the fire before retaliating with several spells that he could not recognize. Blocking them with his sword, he rolled to the left and dashed forward to try and take his head off before being blocked. This was how it went for a while. Harry would attack Voldemort while the Dark Lord would block and retaliate. Harry would then dodge or block the attack, and so on and so forth. As they fought, Voldemort talked to him, sometimes taunting him, other times congratulating him. Well done, Mr. Potter, you are quite powerful. You would make a great wizard, such a shame you have died. He complimented him, seemingly not bothered at all about how long this battle has lasted. But on the inside he was annoyed. While he could use most of his magic, he could not use his favorite spell, the Killing Curse, as it was more likely to kill them both. After all, a spell that attacks the soul, what happens when one uses it within their own soul? It could easily kill them both, and he was not willing to risk it, not when he was winning. And he was winning. Harry just didn't have the experience Voldemort did. Voldemort used the same amount of magic in 10 spells as Harry did in 1. His control was just that much better than Harry's. He was on his last leg and Voldemort knew it. The battle continued for several more minutes till finally he made a mistake and Voldemort capitalized on it, hitting him with an unforgivable. The pain was unimaginable. It felt like every nerve in his body was not only being burned but also frozen at the same time. When he finally got a respite from the pain, he saw that Voldemort standing over him, gloating. Well done, Mr. Potter. But sadly you like all before you have fallen, and with the power I gain from your body I will be unstoppable. Nothing, not even Dumbledore, will stand in my way. Seeing Harry did not react or care to what he said, he decided to try a different route. Perhaps my first victim shall be that friend of yours. What was her name? Asia, I believe. Harry glared at him. If looks could kill, Voldemort would be 6 feet under. Seeing the glare, Voldemort smirked and continued. Yes, I believe my Death Eaters will enjoy her company. Understanding what he meant, Harry's glare turned murderous. Trying to force himself up, he failed. He could not let this thing touch Asia, not even look at her. He would die before that happened. Drawing all his power, he tried to stand, move his arm, do anything, but he couldn't. He was in too much pain. Can you imagine the look on her face when her beloved Harry tortures her? The sound of her voice as she begs you to stop, the sound of her scream. That was the last straw. Harry's anger reached its peak and he launched himself at Voldemort. As he did so, his gauntlet changed. It expanded to cover his whole body with armor the color of ebony and crimson. His wings had changed as well. They were less like metal and more natural looking now, with fire being exuded from them. One black dragon balance breaker, the armor announced Infernal Knight. However, Voldemort was not one of the most dangerous wizards alive for nothing. Moving at the last second, he avoided the attack. As both ready themselves for the second round, Voldemort gazed at the change in his opponent. Seeing it, he smirked. The power he would gain and the fear he would inspire would be great. As the battle began, it was obvious that the tides had changed. Harry could now walk through all but the most powerful of spells, and Voldemort was tiring himself out using them. Harry, on the flip side, was stronger than ever before, barreling through anything Voldemort could throw at him till finally he managed to get close enough to run him through. You will regret this, Harry Potter, was the last thing he said. Maybe so, but you will never harm Asia, Harry stated before he removed his sword. As Voldemort dissolved into nothingness, Harry was surprised when the darkness that remained of his shade rushed into him. Grabbing his chest in pain, he heard the flapping of wings. Looking up, he saw it was Alduin. So brat, you won, he stated. Harry nodded, but when he vanished some of his magic flew into me. Does that mean he can come back? Peering close to him, the dragon shook its head. No, he is gone, but it seems some of his powers merged with your own. Try and bring it out, see what happens. Alduin requested, want to see how Voldemort's power affected him. Going through the same ritual as always to draw out his magic, he ignored his own power, both magic and draconic too, and Alduin's, and kept searching till finally he found it. In many ways it felt similar to Voldemort himself, dark and anger, but it was also different in many ways. It was not cruel, it did not enjoy pain, it was not slimy and slick, it was honest, dark and angry but honest. Drawing it out, he was surprised to see his fire had changed. Instead of the usual dark orange-red, it was pitch black. Seeing this, Alduin peered closer. What is it, Alduin? Harry questioned, wanting to know what this fire was. Just when I thought I had seen it all, it's Hellfire 3. The fire of devils. He had never seen a devil use this before. No, that's demonic fire. Hellfire is used by the denizens of the land of the dead, and even then the only being I ever saw use the fire was Hades himself. It is very powerful, not because it does more damage than dragon fire, but because it is nigh impossible to heal from. This fire could even scar a member of the Phoenix clan, something that was long thought to be impossible. Harry looked at the black fire a lot differently now. It was much too dangerous to use. He would only use in the most dire of situations. Leaving his mindscape, he found himself in a hospital bed with Asia asleep on his arm, with both Sully and Marcus sleeping in chairs. Carefully moving Asia off his arm, trying not to wake her, but it was for naught. As soon as he got out of bed, she started to wake. Rubbing her eyes, she looked to see Harry missing from his bed. She looked around before seeing him and launched herself at him with a cry of joy. Harry, caught off guard, fell to the ground with her on top of him. Before she could get off, they heard a groan. Shifting, they saw the other two getting up. Sully looked around before his gaze landed on the two of them on the ground and groaned again. For the love of, can't you two at least wait for us to leave? Marcus chimed in, adding insult to injury. Thank you, they can't keep their hands off each other no matter who is in the room. I thought you two were raised better than this. At least save it for the bedroom. Save what for the bedroom? Asia asked, confused, not getting the innuendo. Stopping there, teasing Sully, and Marcus looked at her and realized she was not joking. Well, you see, Asia, when a man and was as much as she heard before. Harry covered her ears and shot them a glare. Remembering Harry, they turned their attention to him. What happened to you, Harry? You just collapsed. And so he told them about everything, meeting Voldemort, nearly losing to him threatening them, achieving balance breaker. The only thing he left out was the Hellfire. It was not that he did not trust them, he did with his life. But he did not want to force them to choose between him and the Church, as his new power would be considered blasphemy. After all, the powers of a false god should not be used but destroyed. As if any of the gods were false. The only difference between them and Christianity was that they were not arrogant enough to claim to be the only god, and the other beings were not to be worshipped. For after all, according to Alduin, both Ra and Odin in their prime were just as powerful as him. Plus the three factions were so powerful they dragged the others into it. Was a lie. The other factions had been looking for a reason to go to war with each other for a long time. The biblical faction was the only one dumb enough to do so. After all, their forces were devastated. They were on the brink of extinction for centuries, trying to replenish their numbers. Also, the name the biblical faction, the Church called it, despite the fact that both Islam and Judaism were a part of it. Harry walked back to his room after being checked of the hospital. The Church want a spiritual exorcist to come check him out. Finding nothing wrong, he was allowed to leave. When he asked Alduin why they did not find out about Voldemort's magic, Alduin told him, because it is not his anymore, it's yours. Laying down, he summoned his fire and changed it to Hellfire. Looking at it, noticed his aura draining. Aura was the collective experience, magical power, and will of the user. Aura was more powerful than magic, but on the flip side it was much more draining. The problem was that if, to say, middle-class beings were to cast a spell at one another, one using magic, the other aura, the aura user would most likely knock themselves out before any spell could be cast. That is what made dragons so powerful. Every one of them had unnaturally high reserves of aura, so that even the average dragon was high class in power. Adding in their thick hide and near unbreakable scales, they were nearly unstoppable. Harry, by being part dragon, had these reserves, though he could not do much with them. Enhance his speed and strength, that was about it. Focusing on the fire, he found out why. It was because of his dragon fire that it was Hellfire to begin with. If it was not for his dragon fire, it would be Fiendy fire instead. Fiendy fire was a wizard's attempt to mimic dragon fire. Naturally they fail, but it was still quite powerful. With that thought, Harry succumbed to his exhaustion. Landing back in Italy after another long mission, Harry was ready to knock out cold, but first he had to check on Asia, as this mission had lasted longer than usual and she tended to worry about him. It had been a year since his confrontation with Voldemort and things had been doing surprisingly well. The only notable point was Marcus finding out about his Hellfire. They were on a mission in Romania near a wizarding dragon reserve. The dragons of the wizarding world were not real dragons, but when dragons started to become rare, many of them approached the gods to help to see if there was a way to make dragons without needing to breed, as there were so few dragons left and it could take years for a dragon to hatch. Many gods had attempted in an attempt to gain favor with the powerful creatures to make dragons. But none succeeded. The one who came closest was Loki with his son Jormungand. However, it was quickly revealed that it was a nothing but to Loki's whims, so it was considered a failure. The other attempts, while looked like dragons, had none of their intellect or power. Being mid-class at best, though the scales were quite magically resistant, enough to put them as a high-class threat, the fire was a poor imitation of real dragon fire. The closest to real dragon fire was the Swedish short snout, and even that was nowhere near as powerful. The mission was to wipe out the nearby group of vampires who were drawing too much attention to themselves by killing massive amounts of people in several nearby towns. The problem came was when they accidentally, in an attempt to escape, let loose 4 Chinese firebolts which promptly burned them to a crisp. The fight was working against them, as while he could absorb the fire, he had to watch out to make sure no one from a nearby town found out about it. The first 2 were taken out easily, but after that both of them were tired so much so that even with his balance breaker protecting him, the physical strikes they managed to get on him did a lot of damage. Seeing Marcus get slammed into a wall, probably breaking several ribs, he decided enough was enough and reached inside him and drew on the necromantic power he gained from Voldemort, and mixed it with his own fire. He flew into the sky, wreathing his sword in Hellfire. Following him, the first dragon flew at him with a roar before Harry launched himself at the dragon, tearing one of its wings off with a swing. As the dragon panicked and tried to stay in the sky, Harry capitalized on his advantage and flew at it, slicing into the dragon's underbelly, killing it. Pulling sword out, he scoffed these things were an insult to real dragons. Right before the other dragon's tail smacked him with the force of a locomotive, sending him through a wall. Getting up from the impact, he winced. That was going to hurt in the morning. Looking the dragon, he saw it roar in defiance and launch itself at him. He followed in suit, bringing his sword up to kill it before he was blocked by its claw. Rolling under it, he brought his sword up, stabbing it in its heart chamber as its body flared around for a few seconds, trying hopelessly to survive till finally it collapsed. Dragging his way out from underneath the body, he smelled himself and recoiled in disgust that was going to take a couple showers to rid of. What the hell was that? Turning around, he Marcus standing there with a bewildered expression on his face. Harry then told him everything about how when Voldemort tried to possess him he failed, but some of his powers merged with his own, giving access to Hellfire. After telling him everything, Marcus started moping, say how it was up bullshit and complaining about him getting all the luck. Harry merely stared at him in confusion. Didn't he care that his best friend literally controlled the fires of death? But he just laughed. You're not getting rid of me that easily. Damn, thought that would work. Walking up to the church, he sensed that Asia was not there. However, before he could leave, he saw Marcus storm out in a huff with a large duffel bag over his shoulder. Marcus Hunter was having a really bad day when he heard someone call his name. He was about ready to stab someone, till he saw who it was. Have you seen Asia? Looking down in shame, Marcus spoke, voice riddled with regret. She is gone, Harry. What do you mean she's gone? He roared, assuming the worst. She was excommunicated from the church. Marcus growled. Tell me everything, he ordered, his voice turning deadly serious while his eyes narrowed. When Marcus finished the story of how Asia was excommunicated from the church, Harry was pissed. She was excommunicated because she could not stand by and watch another being slowly and painfully die in front of her. He was even more mad about the fact that no one but Marcus stood up for her. All those people who praised her for her abilities before now scorned her and called her a witch and a whore. It was all he could do, not go in there and kill everyone. He was about to go and destroy the church when Marcus stopped him. We have more important things to deal with than a couple of old codgers. Holding up a necklace he continued, this is one of the tracking charms you made. I snuck the sister charm into Asia's bag before she left. Now let's go. We don't know how long it will last before something blocks it. Nodding at him, they went to Harry's home while Marcus tracked the other charm. Harry ran into his room and threw all his stuff in a magically expanded duffel bag. Walking back into the family room, he addressed Marcus. Where is she? A small town in Japan, Kuo. Let's go. It will take at least a day to get there if with the fastest planes. I know a faster way, follow me. Marcus looked around the alley. If he wasn't so pissed and in such a hurry, he would have been in awe. Walking up to the marble building, he saw everyone rushing to get out of Harry's way, survival instinct warning them away. The smoke coming out of his mouth might have helped with that. Walking into the bank, he saw a goblin rushing to meet them. One of the guards must have sent word ahead. May we help you, Mr. Potter? The goblin asked nervously, wondering if they had done something to enrage him, something they had been very careful not to do, as very few things could stop an enraged dragon and they would most likely be devastated by the aftermath even if they managed to stop him. I need a portkey to Japan, Kuo now. The word was punctuated by a burst of fire from Harry's mouth. Of course, sir, we will need some time to make the portkey though, an hour at most. Making an international portkey was not easy, making one that went to that specific of a location even harder. The goblin just hoped that he could control his temper. Is there anything else we can do for you while you wait? Yes. Do I own any properties in Japan? I will have to check, give me a moment please. The goblin said before nearly running to check. As he did so, the other patrons of the bank looked at the two of them in fear. After all, none of them had ever seen a goblin run in fear. They always seemed to take their sweet time for everything. Walking back, the goblin gulped. You do not own any properties in Japan. Send me list of buildings in Kuo, Japan by the end of the week then. Was the last thing he said before storming out. The goblin visible sagged in relief once he left. That was a close one. Where are we going? Marcus asked. To send a message, was all he said. An hour later, Marcus was staring in shock at the smoke rising from the Vatican. You burned the Vatican down. No, I burned the prayer area. Big difference. No, it is not, he yelled as they went to go pick up the portkey. Looking at it, he saw it was a small rope. Picking it up a moment later, he felt a tug at his navel and like that they were off to Japan. While all that was happening, Asia was being shown around town by Issei Hyodo, an older boy who was very kind to her. Meanwhile, Issei was extremely worried. If someone other than him had found her, she could have been serious trouble because of her naivety. He only found from the scent of dragon that surrounded her, and it was not you lived in the same area as a dragon. It was you spend almost every day that dragon in extremely close proximity. Showing her around town, they saw a little boy fall and see his knee. As he started crying, Asia walked up to him and a green glow surrounded her hands and the boy's knee. As his wound healed, Issei raised an eyebrow. Twilight healing, that was useful. That was twilight healing, wasn't? Oh, you know about magic. It must have been by God's grace we met then. She smiled so brightly he wondered how one could be so innocent and kind. So why are you in Kuo? He asked, watching amused as she tried to figure out how to eat a hamburger. Deciding to figure out the food later, she answered, I have been transferred to the nearby church. As she said that, her eyes seemed to dim a light. Oh really? Well, I know where that is. If you like, I can show you. He offered, wondering what was going. That church had several fallen angels and rogue exorcists, and he doubted this girl was one of them. Oh yes, thank you. It seems I am quite fortunate to have run into you. Thank you God. She said a quick prayer. Once they had gotten to the church, he heard the flapping of wings. Turning around, he smirked. Yuma-chan, it's so good to see you again. Yuma just glared at him. You're not mad about last time, are you? Issei had first met Yuma when he was walking home from school one day. Believing him to be a normal human, she hid herself as normal teenage girl and asked him out on a date, unaware that he knew she was a fallen angel the whole time. Throughout the entire date, he kept making angel jokes about how she was so cute it was a sin, and continued to do so till the end of the date. When she tried to kill him, their date had taken them to the middle of an empty park facing the fountain. Yuma turned to him. Could you do something for me, Issei? Sure, anything, he said with a smile, but first could you answer a question for me? Of course, she said with a shy smile on the inside, though she was expecting another cheesy joke. If she heard one more angel joke she was going to kill him slowly and painfully. Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? He asked. She rolled her eyes. She was wondering when he was going to make that joke. Somehow he used every angel joke but that one. Did it hurt when you sinned and God cast you from heaven? When your light dimmed and faltered? When your wings turned black as night and you were no longer welcome in heaven? Her eyes widened in surprise when she realized that this was not some normal human, but a someone who knew about magic and most likely knew about his sacred gear and had activated it. Acting quickly, she struck with a spear of light, hoping to take his heart out in one go. But she found her spear held between the left hand of her target with a red gauntlet covering it. On seeing the gauntlet, all color drained from her face, a Longinus and the boosted gear at that. And from the way he summoned it, he was clearly experienced with it. To many angel jokes, he joked as if she had not tried to kill him before, turning to the trees and shouting, "Show yourself, Neko." Yuma was quite surprised when a member of the crimson-haired ruined princess's peerage walked out of the forest. She was a small girl dressed in a Kuo Academy uniform with white hair. Issei was impressed with her ability to hide herself. If the wind had not shifted randomly during the date, he never would have noticed her. Now go to your master and tell her I do not like being watched. And that should she have attempted to reincarnate me after letting me die, I would destroy her and everything she cared about, understood? Emphasizing his statement with a predatory gaze that dragons were known for. She gave a scared nod before vanishing in a magical circle. Now where were we? Turning back to Yuma, he saw she was frozen in fear from his dragon's gaze. Even if it was not directed at her, it was still quite powerful. Snapping out of it, she dissolved the light spear and took off flying. Aren't you going to stop her? Drake asked. No, let her run, she knows better than to cross me now. Beside, I'm sure she was acting of her own accord. No need to make unnecessary hostilities. Humph, in my day we killed our enemies and destroyed all their allies, that way there was no one to have hostilities with. Yeah, old man, he chuckled walking back home. Mr. Issei, do you know Miss Raynor? Asia asked, completely oblivious to the tension. Yes, me and her actually dated a little while ago. Seems she is a bad mad about how we broke up. Come Asia, we must be going. Raynor ordered, wanting to get as far away from him as possible. Roughly grabbing her and pulling her along. Now hold on a second, does she want to go with you? Seeing Asia get forcefully pulled toward the church, he doubted she did. Looking at him sadly, she said, "It's all right, Mr. Issei, I don't want anyone get hurt." Issei's eyes widened in realization. She thought that he would be beaten by Raynor, that she was more powerful than him. He would have been touched if he was not so insulted. As they walked inside, he called to her, "Asia, if you want to leave, come find me." It was a day later when he met her again. He was visiting a wealthy man who he often worked for. Not that he need the money, he made a lot of it a year for magical jobs he did. But it would not do for his parents to question where all the money was coming from, so he got a job. Unlocking the door, he walked in. "Mr. Toshi," he called, noticing the light were out before the smell of blood hit him. Walking into the living room, he saw a white-haired man sitting there by candlelight. "Punish the wicked, words to live by." Wise advice indeed from a holy man, he said, turning to face Issei, laughing. Getting up, he stated, "You just walked into the wrong house, my friend." Giving a little bow, he continued, "Fried Selzen at your service." He then start doing a strange dance, "And you must be scared, little whose devil this holy man is going to exorcise." Issei decided to play dumb. "Devil, what the hell are talking about?" he said, acting scared. "Oh, don't play dumb, you are a devil." "What? No, I'm not." "Really? Then you would not mind touching this cross?" Holding out his hand, Issei grabbed the cross. After several moments of nothing happening, Fried let out an awkward little cough. "Oh, so you aren't a devil?" "Nope, did not even know he summoned them till now." "Well, this is awkward." "Yeah, if you don't mind, I will be leaving." "Oh, of course, go." As Issei turned to leave, he saw a red summoning circle appear in the room and Kaneko stepped out. "Sorry I'm late, Mr. Toshi, I had something to—" She cut off abruptly on seeing his dead body. Her eyes turned to Issei, then to Fried. Before any of them could do anything, they heard an ear-piercing scream. Looking, they saw Asia backing away from the dead body of Mr. Toshi. "What is going on?" she asked, nearly crying. Taking advantage of the situation, Freed swung his light sword and gave Kaneko a large cut across the stomach. As she collapsed, Asia screamed, "Oh, shut up, would you? She is a shitty devil. It is our job to kill them." "What about him?" she asked, pointing towards Mr. Toshi's body. "He summoned a devil, thus it is our job to purge his damned soul as well." "No," she shouted, running in front of the downed devil, "I won't let you hurt her. She did not do anything wrong." "You," he shouted, slapping her, sending her flying into the wall. "I'm glad you're going to get that stupid sacred gear ripped out of you. At least then you will learn some respect." At this, Issei decided to get serious. Summoning his sacred gear, he punched Freed so hard he went flying into the table. Getting up, he pointed at Issei, "Hey, I thought you weren't a devil." "I'm not." Drawing on his power, he let it flow freely. "I'm a dragon." Jumping up, Freed grabbed Asia. "Nope." And with that, he teleported away. As he did, another circle appeared and outstepped Rias and her peerage. "'Bout time you got here. We were held up. Now I think it's time we had a talk," she said, gazing sternly at him. An hour later, in the orc room, he had just finished explaining what had happened and how he knew Asia. "What do you plan to do now?" she asked, despite knowing the answer. "To rescue Asia before they remove her sacred gear and kill her," he stated, as if there was no discussion to be had. "I can't let you do that," Rias told him with a frown. "You can't just march into fallen angel territory like that. They will assume I sent you." "Do I look like one of your peerage members?" he asked rhetorically. "Because I'm not, and you have no power over me. You will risk starting a war. We will deal with this the proper way." "You mean once it is too late and you can reincarnate her without asking her?" "I will not let you go and start a war," she told him, her powers along with that of her peerage flaring, deliberately avoiding the question. Issei laughed, "You can't stop me," before flaring his own power, which easily dwarfed all of theirs combined. Getting up, he walked out of the room. Only once none of them could sense his presence in the building. Did any of them say anything scary? Kaneko shivered while Akeno placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Turning to Rias, Akeno asked, "What do we do? What can we do? None of us can stop him." Rias said in deep thought, was she really so desperate as to basically make people to save herself? Later that night, Harry and Marcus had finally managed to track down Asia, as something was obscuring their tracking charm and it took a while to get past. Walking up to the church, they sensed another presence. Turning, they found a boy a few years older than them. Gripping his sword, Harry glared. "Take me to Asia now and I might not kill you." The boy seemed to sniff the air for a few seconds before he spoke. "You're the one whose scent was all over Asia. Are you here to help her as well?" "Help her? What are you talking about? Is she in danger?" Summoning his sacred gear, he was surprised when Alduin spoke. "It has been a while, hasn't Diedrag?" "Indeed it has, Alduin. So this is your host, him?" The dragon seemed to look him over for a moment. "Doesn't seem like much," he snorted. "You're one to talk. Yours looks like a common schoolboy," Alduin retorted in defense of its pride. "After all, your host was a representation of you." Addressing his host, he seemed to gloat. "Told you. How can you expect to bring the dragons back to prominence if none of them respect you? Enough of this. Asia is in danger. I don't have time for the two of you to play catch up." "He's right, let's go," Issei agreed before both their gems flashed before going silent. Sneaking into the church, they were unsurprised when they found several exorcists blocking the way. They surprised when the normally light-hearted Marcus launched himself at one of them with a cry of rage. Colliding his spear with the light sword of one of the exorcists, they heard the exorcist laugh. "So that why church decided to send someone to kill the great Freed, and they send this little..." "Shut up and die," Marcus roared with tears of rage in his eyes. Harry just ran past him, taking out any exorcist that got in his way, understanding that this was something he had to deal with. Picking up the nearest exorcist, "Where is the ritual going on? Tell me now." But the exorcist remained quiet. Raising his hand to punch him, he was surprised when Issei stopped him. Before Harry could snap at him, he spoke, "I have a better way." Turning to the exorcist, he looked him straight in the eye and turned on his dragon's gaze. "Where is the ritual going on?" The exorcist pointed a shaky hand at the altar. Once Issei dropped him, the man passed out in fear. See, all you had to do is ask nicely. But Harry had already walked past him. Walking up to the altar, he held his hand up and a magic circle formed in front of it. With a quick burst of magic, the altar was obliterated, revealing the hidden passage below. Once down there, several exorcists were there to greet them, but Harry just cut them down like they weren't even there. Reaching the main chamber, they found Asia strung up to the cross in the middle, and Harry saw Red attacking the nearest fallen angel. He killed her with little effort, barely noticing Issei helping him by send the one in the fedora into the cross ahead. Rushing up the stairs, he went to go cut Asia free but was blasted back by a barrier. In his rage, he forgot to check for one. However, before he could do anything, Rainer had managed to get behind Issei, stabbing him in the stomach. Lying on the ground, Issei asked, "Yuma-chan, don't you think this going a bit far? I doubt Azazel approves of this." Which was true. Azazel was a well-known pacifist, and while he had interest in sacred gears, he never killed any of them, preferring to study their powers personally as they evolved. Believing only a natural wielder could truly bring out a sacred gear's potential. "You think that coward Azazel had me do this?" "No, he is too much a fool. Take these tools from weaklings who don't deserve them. He is such a fool, he does not even see that we have been planning against him this whole time. No, it was the great Kokobile who had me do this, a man with real vision." She gloated in her mind. Only Kokobile was worthy of his power, the rest of them were all cowards. "You get that?" Issei asked, looking at a body of the man in the fedora while getting up as if nothing had happened to him. Getting up, the man smirked, every last word, before waving his hand and summoning bonds made of light to trap Rainer, while a spear of light cut Asia down. As she fell, Harry ran up and caught, carrying her bridal style. "What are you doing, Danasik? Let me go," she ordered, struggling against her bonds. "Kokobile will have your head for this." "I doubt that. I think he will be a bit busy dealing with Azazel. Remember the one who was a blind fool." "What? Why you would tell Azazel?" Not understanding why he would sell them out. "He just as likely to be punished as the rest of them." "Because he is the reason I am here," Danasik explained. He knew Kokobile was acting behind his back. "He just need proof, and that is where I came in, pretending to be a fallen angel, fed up with the way things were." Issei, who had been quiet till now, spoke up. "He approached me after I stopped your failed assassination attempt. He knew after I humiliated you that you would want revenge, and when you got it you would be more likely to gloat. Yes, thank you for your aid. Now I must be going, but I believe I will be seeing you soon." With that cryptic message, he and Rainer, who was still screaming obscenities at him, vanished in flurry of feathers. Walking towards Harry, Issei saw that he was carefully covering Asia's modesty, as the dress she wore did none of that with his trench coat. "Harry, it's over, let's go." Harry carefully picked up Asia, bridle, and carried her towards the stairs, using his wings to shield her from any attacks that might come at them. But no tried to stop all the exorcists, having fled, or were dead. Walking up the stairs, they saw Marcus standing there glaring at everything and nothing. On seeing them and Harry carrying Asia, he ran up to them. "Is she?" He tried to ask but could not form the words. "No, she is just tired," Harry said, relieved that she wasn't hurt. "What about you, kill the bastard?" "No, he got away," still bitter about Freed escaping, before perking up. "But he did lend me a hand, see." Pointing to side, Harry saw a severed hand and he let out small smirk. Asia woke up the next morning in an unfamiliar room. Feeling a weight on her left arm, she looked down and gasped in shock. What was Harry doing here? Did he save her? Feeling her shift, Harry shoot up. On seeing her awake, he did something that shocked her. He gave her a hug. "Never worry me like that again." But she did not hear him. She was still in shock about him hugging her. He never hugged her, or anyone for that matter. She was always the one who hugged him, while he would always hug her back. He never initiated a hug. "Asia," he said, snapping her out her shock, "why did you not call me? I would have helped you, you know that, right? I was kicked out of the church. I was a witch, you were not allowed to talk to me." He was a little hurt that she thought he would care about the fact that she was excommunicated. "Asia, I don't care about the church. I only joined because you did. If you had not gone with them all those years ago, I would have withstayed you regardless." Asia blinked in shock. The fact he was not a Catholic did not surprise her, but that he only joined the church because of her did. But why? I'm not anything special. Harry frowned at the low opinion she had of herself. It was not enough for the church to kick her out, they had to break her spirit as well. Asia, you're worth all of that and more. You're mine and no one is taking you away from me. She let out a few tears and pulled him into a hug. Thank you, she cried into his shoulder. A few minutes later Asia was basking in the warmth that Harry constantly radiated when a cough interrupted them. Wow, I thought you were kidding when you said they can't keep their hands off each other. Nope, these two are always like this. Turning they saw Issei and Marcus standing there grinning. Marcus, you're here as well? Asia asked in surprise. Of course, someone has to keep you two out of trouble. He said with the same grin on his face as always. Issei, a woman's voice from down the hall called, I'm going to work if you need. She trailed off on seeing the people in the room. She stepped out of the room before calling to her husband. Sweetie, you won't believe our son has friends over. What, really? Yes, and there is even a girl. This is great, our son may be productive member of society yet. Yes, maybe he will even get rid of all his he leaves lying around. Looking around the room they did not see any, just a bunch of magic books. Turning their gazes to him, he answered the unasked question. I cast the, what you expect to see, spell on my magic books, but I have a lot and my parents expected their teenage son to have so. He awkwardly trailed off. Marcus just collapsed to the floor laughing. That was classic. He laughed for several seconds before Asia spoke up. What's? She asked innocently. Stopping Issei and Marcus turned to her in shock. How sheltered was she? Marcus opened his mouth to answer when he saw Harry sitting behind her glaring at him while sharpening his sword, something that was not necessary as the sword was ever sharp, but the message was sent. Clearing his throat he answered. It's just a guy thing. Oh okay, she said brightly, completely oblivious to the threat Harry had made. Asia, if you're feeling better we can go to the hotel now. Harry spoke kindly as if he had not just threatened bodily harm to his best friend. Nodding, she stood up and stumbled for a moment before Harry caught her. Smiling at him she walked down the stairs. On their way out Issei parents called out to them. Come back anytime, our son needs people to make sure that he does not stay. Marcus just laughed all the way to the hotel. Once there both Marcus and Asia gaped. This was not a normal hotel, it was a luxury hotel. One that none of them should be able to afford. Turning to Harry, Marcus raised an eyebrow. How can we afford this? You can't, I can. My parents left me a lot of money. He explained. Wow, it's so nice. Asia stated on seeing her room. It was fancier than anything she ever had before. Harry walked over to the window. On hearing a knocking, looking he saw it was a Gringotts bird. Letting it in he took the letter from it. Going over it he saw it was the letter of introduction from the Japanese branch of Gringotts, and how if he so wished the deal he had with the Italian branch was still active. He snorted. Could they be more transparent? They wanted access to the dragon steel he made for the Italian branch. He heard from several sources that there was constant competition between the branches. He guessed it was true. Look, the second letter in the envelope he saw, it was the list of properties he asked for. Going through it he crossed out several automatically before finding several that he would check out. He was about to go to sleep when he heard a knocking on his door. Opening it he surprised to see Asia standing there. Can I sleep next to you? She stuttered out with a bush, trying to look anywhere but at him. Why? He asked curiously, because while they had fallen asleep next to each other before it was never deliberate. I don't want to be alone. Stepping aside he let her enter. When she finally managed to go to sleep Harry was going to follow when he felt her start to shake. No please, no, I did not mean to. Please stop. Seeing her crying Harry grabbed her and tried to wake her up. Asia, wake up. It's just a dream. Asia, he called one time before managing to wake her up. Waking up she looked around before seeing Harry. I'm sorry, she mumbled before getting out of bed. I'll leave you now. But before she could, Harry grabbed her wrist. Asia, you know you can talk to me, right? I will never leave you. That seemed to break the dam. She threw herself into Harry crying. It was horrible. No one stood up for me or helped me. The only one who tried was Marcus, but he could not do much. They called me all kinds of mean things: whore, devil, slut, heathen, heretic. And no matter what I said they wouldn't stop. If Marcus hadn't spoken up they would have killed me. As she said all of this Harry just held her, rubbing her back. They stayed this way until the next morning, when Marcus came to wake them up. He was about to interrupt and mock them when he saw the tear tracks on Asia's face. Realizing what must have happened, he quietly closed the door and allowed them to sleep. Over the course of the next 2 months they moved into their new house, a large house that, while not quite a mansion, was not really a house either. They had been forced to enroll in school as they could not claim not be homeschooled, plus Issei wanted them to there for some reason. With Issei he seemed to take Harry under his wing, pun intended. He became a mentor to Harry, helping with his powers in way Alduin could not, simply because he was not human. Issei, however, understood most of the problems Harry had with his dragon power and how to control his aura best while using the least. Something that Alduin never need to do, as his control came over centuries of practice. They also met the Grimoire peerage. On finding out Asia's story, Kiba seemed to take her under his wing, watching out for her when Harry could not. At first suspicious of his intentions, he confronted his king about it, but all Rias said was that Asia was not the only one to suffer at the hands of the church. Harry understood, but that did not mean he trusted him. But another thing that worried him was that Rias Queen Akino took a liking to Asia, something that had him worried simply because the girl seemed like she would enjoy corrupting Asia. Asia had also gotten a familiar, a small newborn sprite dragon she called Rasei, because he reminded her of Issei, which was ironic considering the dragon hated Issei, randomly shocking him for no apparent reason. He did take a liking to Harry though, which was strange as normally male sprite dragons did not like any males. Issei was relaxing in his room when Rias's magic circle appeared in his room. He got up and prepared himself for a fight, not because he thought he was going to be fighting Rias. In the last 2 months he had come to know her quite well and saw that while a bit arrogant, she was a good person. So no, he was not expecting to fight her, he just assumed there was something she needed his help with if she came into his room this late, and in a way he was right. "You want me to what?" he asked, cleaning out his ear. He must have misheard her. "I want you to take my virginity," she said with a serious look on her face, as she stripped down D. "That's what I thought. Now why?" he asked. He knew many girls at school liked him, but he also knew that female pureblood devils took losing their virginity very seriously, not so much as they must marry whoever they lost it to, but that it was something they did not just give out willy-nilly. Before she could respond, another magic circle appeared in the room. "Really, Rias, losing your virginity to this low-born Searsex would be so disappointed." The woman who said this was dressed in a stereotypical maid's uniform. Turning to Rias, he raised an eyebrow. "Who the hell is this?" "She's my older brother's queen." "Yes, and he would be very disappointed that you would try to lose your virginity to a low-born such as this." She shook her head in disappointment. "What did you call me?" Issei was not a very prideful person. He would let most insults go or respond back just as ferociously. But this woman right here had insulted his pride as a dragon, implying plain as day that she was above him and that he could not compare. His eyes narrowed. Dragons had destroyed entire kingdoms for less than that. "You are a low-born who? Get out." The maid blinked. "What?" she asked, thinking that he must have misspoken. "Get out. You come into my home and insult me." "I don't think so. Get now," he ordered. "Fine," she said curtly. "Rias, let us go." But Issei stopped her by holding his hand up. "No, Rias, you can stay. I told you before that both you and your peerage are welcomed here anytime. I did not extend this to your brother or his maid. Now leave," he said, addressing the maid. "I am sorry, but I can't without Miss Rias. My master would be very disappointed in me," she said, let her releasing a tenth of her power to intimidate them. But Issei just smirked and let loose some of his own, matching her. "Looks like your master is going to be disappointed then," he told her. Every time the maid tried to raise her power to intimidate him, he raised his to match. When she finally managed to raise her own just a bit beyond his own, he summoned the boosted gear. Boost. Graphia's eyes widened when she realized she was challenging the Securite. "All right then, if you insist, I leave, I shall," she said before vanishing the same way she came. But before she left, she warned Rias that they would talk about this. "Talk about what?" Issei asked, turning to her. She sighed and then explained that she was in an arranged marriage with someone she hated, a playboy asshole who wanted to make Rias another one of his many conquests and to keep the bloodline pure. Diedrag snorted. "You weaklings, and you need to be pureblood and have some superfluous claim of superiority to others. Dragons aren't the same, she asked in surprise. She assumed all species had factions like that. As long as you have dragon blood in you and can use aura, you are a dragon. Rias sighed. She wished that devils were like that, then she would not need to marry that ass. The next day Harry, Asia and Marcus were walking to school with Kiba and Kaneko. Yeah, the president has been acting really weird lately, Kiba said. Worried, Kaneko added. I'm sure it's just some business in the underworld she has to deal with, right? Marcus asked. Probably. Right. He chuckled when he heard that both Kaneko and Harry were very similar, both only saying what was necessary and letting others talk instead. Walking into the club room they saw a woman in a French-maid uniform standing there arguing with Rias. I won't marry him and that is final, it's my choice. Before anyone could say anything a circle appeared in the middle of the room and in blaze of fire a man appeared. Come now Rias, surely you don't mean that. The man was a good-looking blonde-haired man wearing a red blazer with the shirt underneath with top 2 buttons undone. Standing there with a cocky grin on his face, Marcus asked the question that several other were wondering, who's the prick? Coughing to cover up a laugh, Akino spoke. This is Riser Phoenix, he is the third son of the clan head. You also forgot the beautiful Rias's fiancée. She did not forget because I am not marrying you. Come now Rias, it is important the few pureblood devils that remain marry to make sure we keep our family names alive, and as the heiress to the Grimoire clan you have a duty to uphold. He reclined back into the couch with a self-satisfied smirk as if that was that. I have no intention of failing my family. But who I marry is my choice, she said defiantly, turning her back on Riser. You will marry me Rias, even if I must burn the everything here to ashes, he said, flaring his magic, allowing flames to lick the walls with Rias matching him in power. Forcing everyone to back up except Harry, who merely absorbed the fire as it came close, Asia, who was behind Harry, and Marcus, who was used to fire as he constantly spared against Harry. Seeing the three of not even flinch, Riser glare and was about to increase the amount of fire when Graphia stepped in, suppressing both of their powers with her own. Searsex and your parents thought we might come to this point. Turning, she addressed Rias, this shall be settled with a rating game. Fine by me, Riser smirk, I have a full set. And in a flash of fire 15 girls appeared behind him. But it seems that you Rias do not, you have what, 6 members of your peerage? He mocked. We aren't part of her peerage. Harry spoke with Marcus stepping up next to him. You expect to beat me with 3 members? He laughed, a member of the Phoenix clan Masters of Fire and Air. Harry snorted, something funny, human. He sneered with disgust at the name human. Yeah, last time I checked the Masters of Fire and Air were the dragons. The dragons are nothing compared to the might of the Phoenix clan. He bragged. Harry raised an eyebrow when he realized that Riser actually believed it. Wanna test that theory? Harry challenged. Rias looked up in hope if he managed to get involved in the rating game she might stand a chance. Please, I do not need to dirty my hands, he snapped his fingers. Mira, and with that a member of his peerage in a red kimono with blue hair and several ponytails stepped forward holding a staff. Yes, Lord Riser, teach them a lesson. As she was about to launch herself at him, Harry spoke. Marcus. Right, he jumped forward, meeting her halfway with his spear clashing with her staff. Pushing her back in surprise, he smirked. What's the matter? I thought you going to teach us a lesson. She broke the deadlock and jumped back behind her master while Marcus slowly walked back next to Harry. Rias smirked. This is your peerage, Riser, I'm not impressed. He snarled. Fine boy, you want to prove you're better, then you and your spear-wielding friend may join the rating game. Rias needs all the help she can get, you have 10 days to train. With that he vanished in a blaze of fire, his peerage right behind him. Once he left, so did Graphia, claiming she needed to inform Searsex of the change. As Graphia left, Harry let out a laugh he had been holding in. Gullible fool. Turning to him, Rias looked at him curiously. His pride would not let him back down from my challenge, despite the fact he knows he may lose with the 2 of us participating. One of the biggest things Alduin beat into his head was that have your pride, yes, but do not let it accept challenges you can't handle. Many great dragons had fallen because of their pride. Akino covered her mouth and giggled. You foofoof, that was quite devious of you. Rias just gave him a hug, pressing his head into her chest. Thank you. When she did this, Asia did something she never did before. She glared, then looked down at her chest and back at Rias. As she moped about the size of her chest, she felt Kaneko tap her on the shoulder. Unfair. She nodded in understanding. Pulling away from Rias, Harry's face was red with embarrassment. "Ehim, we need to begin training as soon as possible." Rias smiled. "I know the perfect place." Walking up a hill, the group of high school students were all in varying states of exhaustion. Kiba was tired, not so tired he could not move, but more of he just a long day at work. Rias and Akino were not much better, actually sweating and having a bit of trouble with their packs, though Akino's rook bonus did help her. Marcus was in the same position as Kiba. With Harry and Kaneko still fresh as daisies, plus their pack were twice the size of everyone else's. Kaneko's was carrying her sweets as well as her stuff, while Harry was carrying Asia's when she got too tired to carry it. Reaching the top, the group saw Issei standing there at the top. "About time you got here." He smirked. The training went as such. Kiba and Marcus paired up because Riser had both spear and sword fighters, so it was best they gained experience fighting one. Kaneko was working on something personal that she did tell anyone about, but according to Rias it would really help. Rias and Akino were to spar with each other to improve their magic, while Issei personally trained Harry. Asia's job was to heal any of their injuries. When the day had ended, everyone was sitting around the table getting ready to eat. "Dinner's ready, everyone," Akino said as she placed the food on the table. "Itadakimasu," everyone spoke before digging in. "This is really good, Akino. What did you use to make it?" Asia questioned after taking a bite. "I can show you later if you want." "Yes, please." Finishing up eating, the girls decided to go the hot spring. Issei had also managed to convince Harry to join him in the boys' hot spring, though the other guys refused. Walking up to the entrance, Issei let out a sigh. "I'm so gonna enjoy this." Walking up to the door, Harry looked around for the door to the boys' hot spring. Think that in such a big place he may have missed it. As he heard Issei walk up behind him, he asked, "Where the hot spring?" Unknown to him, Issei smirked, "Right here." And with that he opened the door and gave him a shove. "Have fun." With that he fell into the hot spring, pulling himself out of the water. He barely noticed the heat. "Yufufuf, how bold of you, Harry-kun," keeping his eyes down lest he accidentally incite their rage. "I was tricked by Issei." He tried to excuse. "Yes, I'm sure you were." Akino giggled. "Stop teasing him, Akino." Walking up to him, Rias grabbed him by the shoulders and turned him around. "The door is that way." As he started to stumble his way to the door, Rias spoke up again. "All of us are behind you, so you can look up." Harry then made the foolish mistake of trusting her. Looking up, he saw Asia looking at him in shock. Too stunned to move, he gazed in amazement. Asia was not as womanly as, say, Rias or Akino, but she was perfect for her size. Eyes widening in realization of what he was doing, he turned and ran to the door. Grabbing his clothes, he started back to his room, running into Issei on his way. "Have fun." Standing there smirking, Harry got the urge for the first time in a long time to do something impulsive. He brought his right hand up to punch him, but Issei just stepped aside, dodging the blow. "I'll take that as a yes." Deciding to avoid a headache, he continued on to his room, slamming the door behind him. Getting up, Marcus looked at him. "What's got you in huff?" "Nothing," was all he said before changing and going to bed. The next 10 days had gone without incident, if a bit awkward for Asia and Harry, as neither could look each other in the eye. Finally the day for the rating game had come as Harry and Marcus stepped into the portal with the Grimoire Peerage. Asia ran up and gave Harry a hug. "Good luck." Before stepping back as a magic circle surrounded them, they vanished in a red light, only to reappear in the middle of what seemed to be the club room. Looking around, Harry wondered if something had gone wrong before Graphia started speak from what seemed like everywhere. "I am Graphia Lucifuge, and I shall be refereeing this rating game between the Riser Phoenix of the Phoenix clan and Rias Grimoire of the House of Grimoire. Now let the rating game begin." Now let the rating game begin. With that they were off. Harry headed towards the gym where, according Rias, the enemy was most likely to be, as it was the middle ground. Entering the gym, he extended his senses, trying to notice anything out of place. But it was not necessary. Jumping up, he avoided the strikes from behind by the two pawns. What use did chainsaws serve? They had magic which could easily replicate the effects of a chainsaw, and all the chainsaws did was reveal your location. He moved aside once more to avoid a strike from the knight. And here I thought knights were supposed to be noble. She brought her blade up for another strike, but it was blocked by his sword. She was actually quite good, he would give her that, but Harry was better. Timing the move right, he made it seem like he was in a deadlock and wait for the two pawns to attack. As soon as they did, he ducked between their weapons and cut them both down with a sword strike to the stomach. Two of Riser's pawns retire. Came the announcement moments later. The knight attack once more, though much more cautious than before. But in the end she fell to his sword as well. One of Riser's knights retire. He relaxed his stance and made to put his sword away before stabbing behind him. One of Riser's rooks retire. Riser cursed when he heard that he was confident that those 4 members of his peerage would at least take out one of hers. But it seemed he underestimated the boy. "You Bella, do it." He was looking around the gym for another member of Riser's peerage when he felt a large buildup of magic. When the magic was released, he did not have time to escape, so he instead brought his sword up to shield his head and formed a haste shield around himself. The smoke from the blast cleared. He looked no worse for wear. Luckily she specialized in fire magic, so he was able to absorb the worst of it that would have hurt him. Seeing him unharmed, her eyes widened in shock. "There is no way you could have survived that unharmed." He did not bother responding. He jumped into air and unleashed several precise sword strikes. Barely dodging the blows, she laughed. "It seems all you really are is lucky," she mocked. But he just held up his right hand. "When did you?" In his hand was her vial of Phoenix tears she received from Master Riser. "Akino now," he calmly stated right before a blast of lightning took her out of the sky. Recovering, she turned to the Thunder Priestess herself in the air. "You foof, it seems you need a lesson in manners," she said with a sadistic look on her face. "Harry just left, she could handle it." One of Ria's knights retires. One of Ria's rooks retire. 3 of Riser's pawns retire. One of Riser's bishops retire. He looked up. It was going just as they predicted. Marcus was walking through the forest looking for the rest of Riser's peerage. Hearing the crack of a twig, he turned around to see another member of Riser's peerage standing there. "My name is Carlamine." "Mine is Marcus. What is going on here? Is she setting up a trap?" "No, it can't be that the pawns remaining are right next to her. Let us have an honorable match," she exclaimed before attacking. Dodging to the side, he realized that she preferred straight-up combat to tricks. He could work with that. Meeting her halfway, he started to channel lightning into his spear, shocking her enough for him to take her off guard. Capitalizing on the advantage, he finished her with a blow to the chest. One of Riser's knights retire. The 3 remaining pawns attacked. He quickly dealt with them. They were good as a team. As individuals, not so much. A massive explosion was heard, and then Rias's queen retires. Riser's queen retires. That meant all that remained was Riser's and his rook. This was going to be easier than he thought. A blast of fire sent him flying into a tree. Recovering, he saw who it was. Rias, we got a problem." "What's the matter?" she asked, confused. Everything was going perfectly. "Revel is fighting." Standing in front of him with a bored look on her face was Revel Phoenix. "It seems I will have to get involved," she said, her annoyance clear on her face at the thought of having to fight such lowly beings. "Shame too, hate to mess up such a beautiful face," he flirted. She rolled her eyes, as if she would fall for such things. "I am a Phoenix, we are immortal. You could not harm me even if you wanted to. Let's test that theory," he challenged, kicking off his spear coated in lightning. Not expecting the lance to do any harm, she let it hit her to show him that he could not hurt her. It was supposed to demoralize him. Realizing that she could not be harmed and he would lose. But it backfired. When the lance started to cut into her, instead of her healing factor dulling the pain as usual, she felt pain like she never had before. "Ah!" she cried out in both shock and pain. How did you?" she stuttered, her healing factor working much slower than usual. Then she noticed something about his spear. "Light spear," she growled. Light spear's a name for both the weapons used by angels and the spear-shaped light swords used by exorcists. "Wow, you're pretty smart," he complimented. "Didn't expect you to figure it out so fast. But it still shouldn't have done that much damage. It hit my..." Her eyes widened in realization. The lightning. Using the spear along with the lightning made it 100 times more dangerous. Light weapons were wild, dangerous, easy to break and avoid, but by adding an element you could improve its effectiveness. That would explain how he beat Carlomene so easily. She was no pushover, but the light element added with lightning would have disabled her long enough for him to deal the finishing blow. She flew back and prepared several spells, hurling them at him at high speeds, but he just batted them away with ease, avoiding those that he couldn't. Before launching himself at her, but she took to the air. "Why do you devils always retreat into the air?" He huffed in annoyance, then smirked mischievously. "You do know I can see your underwear, right?" He asked, honestly curious if she knew and did not care or did not think about it. She flushed crimson red. "Shut up you," she yelled, attacking him. The battle went back and forth for a while, neither able to get the upper hand over the other. Revell nearly growled in annoyance. She had used up half her magic, and while he was in the same position as her, he should have been exhausted. It made no sense. Her reserves were over 10 times the size of his. How did not exhaust himself yet? Voicing her question, he smirked. "I constantly spar against someone who has 100 times as much magic as me. I had to learn how to conserve energy to keep up with him." That made her raise an eyebrow and feel slightly worried. Her brother had about the same amount of magic as his friend then. On his own he would not be able to do much, but add in Rias and you had a viable threat. "Shame I have to end this. I have been enjoying this." "You believe I will be defeated so easily?" she questioned. "Such arrogance. Hot kettle," he muttered under his breath. He gripped his spear, supercharging it with electricity, and hurled at her at lightning speeds. She tried to dodge but only managed to shift herself so that her shoulder was hit, instead obliterating the arm and embedding itself in a tree. "You've lost your weapon, it seems," she mocked as her arm slowly regenerated, believing victory was hers, as any attack that removed your only weapon was normally a last resort. "It's okay, I got more," he said with that damn infuriating grin of his. Reaching behind his back, he pulled out a light sword and shifted his stance to the smaller weapon. He may have not been an expert sword wielder, but he picked up a thing or two from Harry. When he attacked her, she noticed that he wasted a lot more energy than before. It was easier for her to avoid his blows as well. When he sliced a bit too close for comfort, she blasted him back with a blast of magic. He landed right next to his spear. Reaching over, she expected him to grab the spear in a last-ditch effort to win. He instead griped something around the end of the tip. Seeing what it was, her eyes widened. Those were her phoenix tears. That's why he threw the spear. He lifted the bottle, tipping it back as he drank. She hurled a fireball at the vial, shattering it. He may have gotten some of the phoenix tears, but she would damned if she let him have it all. "Damn, was hopping, you wouldn't do that," he sighed, getting up, pulling his spear out of the tree as he did so. He may not have gotten the whole thing, but it was enough to put back in fighting condition. The fight began again. This time it was clear it was in his favor. He had both more magic and was a lot less exhausted thanks to the phoenix tears. As they fought, she begrudging grew to respect him. She thought he was the usual all-fighting no-brain that usual battled her brother, but he clearly had a plan to beat her that he came up with on the fly and managed to outsmart her to get her phoenix tears. As the fight came to a close, there was no clear winner in sight. Both were on their last leg. She was exhausted, her healing was barely working, and his right arm could barely move. As they attacked, Marcus surprised her when he suddenly shot forward, lightning dancing around his legs, and started attacking with his legs. Caught by surprise, she did not stand a chance. His legs had barely been hurt the entire battle. She aimed for his hands and torso the entire time. Her last thought before she was retired was, well played. The entire time he had played, she would not have won either way. That last burst of energy was not a last-second move. It was a hidden ace. He had more energy than he let on the entire time, and if she had to guess, she would say that he drank a lot more of the phoenix tears than she thought. One of Riser's bishops retire. After she vanished in a flash of light, he sighed and collapsed to one knee. Damn, that was tougher than he thought. One of Riser's rooks retires. He got up and started heading towards Riser's main base. This whole thing was more trouble than it was worth. Rias cursed when she heard Marcus say that Revell was participating. Her heart stopped. Revell had never participated in any raiding game she was in before. She was only on her brother's peerage to gain the status of being a great bishop, so that if and when they traded her to another family, they would gain the best possible ally. She was on edge the entire time till she heard that she had retired. As she went to go confront Riser, she was attacked by his rook, which she dealt with ease. Landing there, Riser was just standing there as if he didn't have a care in the world. "Ah, my lovely Rias, come to surrender?" He asked, that condescending tone there as always. "In your dreams, Riser, you've lost, your peerage has been beaten," she said, smirking. But Riser just started laughing. "I don't need my peerage to beat you three." Both Marcus and Harry showed up right as he finished that sentence. Harry looked fresh as daisies while Marcus looked like he was about to pass out any second. "You look like crap," Harry told him, holding out the second vial of Phoenix tears. Taking it, one could see the difference in his appearance. He was standing up straighter and the little scratches that littered his body healed. "Let's kick Tweety's ass," he said, standing at the ready with his spear. Rias chuckled at that while Riser's eyes narrowed in annoyance. "Do you ever shut up?" "Not that I seen," Harry answered sadly. "He has been this way since we met." "You have my apologize." "I'm right here," Marcus yelled indignantly. "Yori's mine, Tweety," Marcus called before blasting off in an attempt to take him by surprise. The difference between Ravel and her brother was apparent from the start. It was clear that Marcus was going to lose, but then his goal was never to beat Riser, but to show Harry his weaknesses. Substitute piece Marcus of Rias Grimoire retires. My turn. Attacking the enemy king, they engaged in a fast-paced fight, Harry quickly showing he was better than Riser when it came to skill. "You cannot kill an immortal, and we of the Phoenix clan are just as immortal as our namesake." Harry snorted. "Something funny?" Riser asked, not seeing what he was laughing about. "Your entire clan are a bunch of discount Phoenix," Harry told him. "Sure, you can heal, but you can die, while a real Phoenix is truly immortal. Second, your powerful healing tears can't compare to that of a real Phoenix. Yours heals almost anything and partially fills up magical reserves, but does not get rid of exhaustion. Real Phoenix tears heal everything completely, restore both your magic and stamina, and give you immunity to any poisons it healed you from. You were a failed attempt to mimic an amazing creature." Riser snarled. It was always a sore point for their clan that they were not as good as the original. He attacked once again, this time not even bothering to talk, pushing back and forth. Their fires battled for dominance. But Riser was slowly gaining ground. Harry may have been more skilled, but Riser had better control over his fire. "Damn," Harry cursed. "It's stupid to think I could beat you like this." "So you admit defeat?" Riser gloated. "You, like all before, have fallen before the power of the Phoenix clan." As he said this, Ria's face fell. She was hedging all her hopes on him, at the very least weakening him for her to finish off. "Looks like I owe Issei 5,000 yen. They looked at him in confusion. What did him mean by that? Rias in particular was confused. Issei had assured her before this that Harry was more than a match for Riser, and he did not strike her as a liar. Harry took a deep breath and exhaled. When he did, there was a large flash of light. When it cleared, "Black Dragon Balance Breaker," announced a voice. Infernal Knight, where Harry once stood, was a set of black armor with a mix of crimson, stood with a set of wings and fire rolling of them. He made an intimidating sight. Riser quickly recovered. "You think this changes anything? Rias will be mine." And the fighting began once more, but this time it was clearly in Harry's favor. The biggest disadvantage his sacred gear had was that it could only release 1/10 of what it absorbed, making it useless once you had absorbed your limit. His balance breaker did not have that limit. It vented the fire it absorbed just as fast as it absorbed it, and against a person who heavily relied on his fire like Riser, it was his Achilles heel. Once Riser had fallen to the ground, Harry standing over him, he glared. "You think this matters? Nothing you do can harm me. I will heal." He reminded them they would run out of magic long before he did. "I would not be too sure about that." Harry spoke, his voice distorted by the armor. Lifting his sword up, the fire coating it changed. Where before it was a normally colored fire, now it was pitch black. "Hellfire," Riser whispered, wanting desperately to believe it was a trick. But deep down he knew it was the real thing. Slashing the sword across Riser's chest, he spoke once more. "Remember this every time you think the Phoenix are unkillable. Remember this fire, the feeling of it burning you." Looking at his chest, they were surprised to see it slowly heal, but that a thin but noticeable scar forming on his chest where the sword cut him. I yield, he shouted, wanting to get away from this monster. Riser Phoenix retires. Winner Rias Grimoire. In a flash of light they were all gone. Appearing in the middle of a room with the other members of Rias Peerage along with Asia, Marcus and Issei. "I believe you owe me 5,000 yen. Yeah, you'll get your money." Harry dismissed with a wave of his hand. Asia ran over to him, healing what few injuries he had. When she was done, she gave a hug. What was that black fire? She whispered into his chest. Realizing there was no way out of this, he explained about Voldemort's Horcrux. When he finished, Kiba noticed that Marcus did not seem surprised. You knew? He asked, turning everyone's attention to the Lancer. Yeah. He nodded. Found out on a mission. We were outnumbered by 4 wizard dragons and I was down with a broken arm and leg. He had no choice and used his Hellfire to kill them. The other accepted the explanation, but Asia wanted to know why he didn't tell her. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, wondering if he did not trust her. A silly worry considering he left his home of 8 years all. Because she wasn't there. But she also never thought the church would betray her. It had made her very clingy to him and trying to copy what others did to make sure he would not leave her. 1. Didn't you trust me? Of course I trusted you, but you hate lying. I would never ask you to lie for me. He assured her, shocked that she would think that. Idiot. She yelled at him. The others were surprised, but none more so than Marcus. He had known Asia for years and never once had she yelled at someone. Shouted in worry, yes, yell at someone never. You can't take everything on by yourself, trust us, trust me. She whispered to him before leaning up and planting a on his lips. Though was not deep, a lip peck would be more accurate, but neither cared. The was only broken when they heard a camera go off and a flash of light. Turning to the source of the flash, they saw the others standing there with a smile. About damn time, Marcus said. You two have been dancing around each other for months. I was this close to shoving you two in a closet. Asia blushed a deep crimson and buried her face in Harry's chest, which really did not help the situation. It's so beautiful, young love, a tearful voice cried. True, Kiba agreed with a small smile on his face, nodding to the person next to him. Before doing a double take. Lord Lucifer, when did you get here? Everyone's attention turned to the man in an elaborate black and gold armor with red hair. I came to congratulate my little sister on winning her first rating game, of course. He said, a smile on his face. So Sears's Lucifer? Issei asked. He chuckled awkwardly. Wait, Nisama, you know him? Rias asked in surprise. You didn't think I would let you go to the human world without scouting the town you were going to live in, did you? He asked. I knew the Red Dragon Emperor was there from the start. I even enlisted him to protect you, as he would be able to be near you during school. Rias flushed in embarrassment. Of course her brother would scout the town. He barely let her go to the bathroom as a kid without sending bodyguards, and she knew he had guards around Ku. It was stupid to think she did not have someone protecting her in school. But he never told me you were the sister of the current Lucifer, or that he was the current Lucifer. He said with a pointed look at Sears. Wait, how did you not know he was the current Lucifer? Rias asked. As the leader of the underworld and a super devil, his appearance was well known, as was his name. He contacted me through a third party about protecting his sister. Rias shot her brother a glare. Ku was supposed to be her chance to prove she could handle herself, not for him to watch over her just as closely as before. I did not need protection, Nisama. I can protect myself. Then to everyone's surprise he started crying. I'm so sorry, Ria-chan, I just want you to safe, please forgive you, big brother. He exclaimed, giving her a hug while tears flowed out of his eyes. She just blushed in embarrassment. Lord Lucifer, it is not appropriate for you to be acting this way. Calmly stayed his loyal maid Graphia, pulling on his ear. Besides, did you not come here for a reason? She sighed. It was annoying having to deal with his antics. Right, he exclaimed, clapping his hands together. There was supposed to be a party organized by both the houses of Grimoire and Phoenix celebrating Riser's victory. Rias grit her teeth and glared at nothing. That just went to show that her parents did not want nor expect her to win. Naturally this is not going to happen. However, the invitations were already sent, so they decided to have instead a party celebrating Rias' first victory at a rating game. So basically they set this up for Rias to fail, and now they are trying to cover their asses by changing the plans. Issei summarized bluntly. Rias' peerage looked scandalized that he would say that out loud. Oh sure, they all knew that's exactly what happened, but they would never say it out loud. Yeah, pretty much, Sears admitted. Well then, let's get ready for a party. Issei smiled. Several hours later saw all of them in incredibly beautiful outfits provided by the Grimoire family. It did not escape Harry's notice that his all-black tuxedo was a perfect match for Asia's red dress. Something he had no doubt the others had something to do with. As the night wore on, many of the guests avoid him out of slight fear of his hellfire. Though several devils here could easily kill him, it did not change the slight psychological effect of seeing an immortal Phoenix get scarred. "Lord Potter?" inquired a voice behind him. Turning around, he was surprised to see the Lord of the House of Phoenix along with his wife and daughter. Harry did not miss the slight tightening of the other man when he turned to face him. It seemed even he was shaken by seeing his family's immortality be bypassed. "I just wanted to come congratulate you on your performance in the rating game. It was quite impressive." "Thank you," he said, accepting the compliment. "No need to make unnecessary enemies. Though I'm surprised that you're not more upset about losing the marriage contract with the Grimoire clan." He expected them to be upset about that. If anything, he seemed happy. "Oh, other alliances can be made," he said dismissively, his eyes flickering between Harry and his daughter. Suddenly both Ravel being there along with her state of dress made sense. While not slutty or anything like that, it would catch the eye of any boy her age. Which he was guessing was exactly what they wanted. It was actually quite genius. His hellfire was one of the few things that could truly harm a Phoenix. If his daughter were to have a child with him, it would be very likely it would inherit his hellfire. Given that it would at the very least give them a resistance to hellfire, if not total immunity to its special effects. "I don't believe I've had the pleasure of meeting you," Lord Phoenix said, addressing Asia. "My name is Asia Argento." She introduced herself with a small smile. "Pleasure to meet you." As they talked, Lord Phoenix brought up the idea of showing that there was no hard feelings between them by having Ravel spend time with him in the human world. After all, it would not do for people to think that they took the rating game too seriously. Harry accepted, if only because he did not wish to burn that bridge yet. Meanwhile, over with Issei and Searsex, they were having a conversation. "So happy you did not need to resort to Plan B?" Issei asked. Plan B was the backup plan in case Riser managed to somehow beat Harry. It involved Issei challenging Riser to a match for Rias's freedom, stating he could not let his friend marry someone she hated so much. Once Searsex made it so that he could not refuse by drawing everyone's attention to them, saying he would love to see such a match. He would make a subspace for them to fight. Once inside, Issei would proceed to beat the ever-loving crap out of him, till he either ran out of magic or the mental effects of being killed so many times finally made him give up. Yes, though it would have been amusing to see Riser be so completely demolished. Searsex agreed. "Though I have heard from the doctors he now has a severe case of dragon phobia, as well as a fear of anything black and of fire. Wow, that must be embarrassing for the House of Phoenix, having a member of the Devil Clan of Fire being afraid of their own element." "Yes, young Harry is quite powerful. I don't suppose he would join Rias peerage?" he asked, addressing Issei. "I doubt it. He, like most dragons, are too possessive of what they consider theirs to share them with another." Speaking of joining peerages, no, he shrugged, worth a shot. He did not think Issei would accept the offer to join his peerage, but he had to try. Harry was exhausted after the party. Going home, he climbed into bed and went to sleep. Waking up the next morning, he found Asia laying next to him. Not too strange after that first night several months back. She would occasionally sleep next to him. Throwing the covers off, he felt Asia snuggle closer to him with the covers gone to keep warm. But that was not the strange part. The strange part was the fact she was wearing nothing but her underwear. Falling off the bed with a cry of shock, he saw Asia stir. Harry. "What time is it?" she asked sleepily, rubbing her eyes. "Asia, what are you doing?" he nearly shouted, losing his composure. This?" she questioned, looking down at her current attire or lack of therefore. "Oh no, I did it wrong, didn't I? Rias told me I should do it, but I was too embarrassed and now I've messed it up," she cried out. Harry was shocked. He could not believe that Rias would do such a who was he kidding? He could completely see her telling Asia to do this. "She was messing with you, Asia, now please put some clothes on," he told her, trying to calm her down while also trying to get her into a proper state of dress. "Grow as pear brat, she clearly wants it. I don't think she knows what it is," he pointed out. "Fair enough," the dragon conceded. Walking downstairs, he saw once more she was in an improper state of dress. This time wearing just her underwear and an apron. At this rate, by the time the morning was over, she would finally be in a full set of clothing. I thought I told you not to listen to what Rias told you. Oh, it wasn't Rias that told me to do this though, it was Akino. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Her naivety, while sweet, was sometimes a pain to deal with. As she put the food on the table, instead of sitting down next to him, she sat in his lap. Picking up a set of chopsticks, she held them up to his mouth. Open wide. He rolled his eyes but indulged her. An hour later they were on their way to school. Marcus had left early, claiming he had a sparring match with the kendo club. Something Harry found pointless. Both of them could annihilate the entire club without even needing to move from where they were standing, and that was without magic. Walking into school they heard the students whispering as usual. This time it was about how Asia was hanging off his arm. Didn't they have anything better to do? He noticed some boys leering at Asia, shooting them a glare. He saw them scatter. Good, he smirked. Welcome class, today we have a new student. The teacher told them. She is a foreigner from Romania. Romania, like Ria Senpai. I wonder if she is as pretty. Turning to the door, the teacher called in the student. Please come in. The door opened and revealed Ravel Phoenix. Introduce yourself please. She smiled. My name is Ravel Phoenix. Giving a quick little bow. Wow, she is so cute. Aw man, I would love to go to Romania, it seems to have all the hotties. And many other such comments were made about her appearance. It as during passing period did they finally have time to talk with Ravel. You know, when your father said he would like to show there was no hard feelings, I did not think he would go this far. He thinks I should form strong bonds with those of great power and influence. And it has nothing to do with the fact he wishes you to essentially seduce me. Harry asked bluntly, while Ravel flushed because that was exactly why she was sent here. Oh man, how does he know her? What does he mean seduce him? Die pretty boy. All right class, settle down, spoke a familiar voice. I am your new history teacher, Takatora Danasik. Harry's eyes widened. This was the fallen angel that tricked that kidnapped Asia. He was missing his trench coat and fedora, but otherwise his appearance was the same. Wow, he hot. I know, right? I would not mind getting history lessons from him. Harry sighed at that last one. The only difference between the Ed duo and the average student was they were more vocal with their desires and did not know the meaning of the word subtly. So that's what he meant by sooner than you think. His eyes met Danasik's and Danasik smirked. So you mean that Danasik is now teaching history? Kiba asked them during lunch. Yeah, honestly I'm surprised that Rias let a fallen angel live in her territory. Marcus informed them. It's not Rias's. Kaneko told them. It's not. No, apparently when Issei was hired to protect Rias he asked why he should even let a devil into his territory. As the heir to the Grimoire clan would attract a lot of unwanted attention and even put it in danger. So Sirzex told him that he would get his sister to manage the affairs of the town for him. Acting as the second owner even if the land belonged to him. Kiba explained. But he never told Rias this, instead he told her that the land was hers to manage and let her believe that meant she owned it. Bet she wasn't happy about that. Marcus laughed. You could say that. Kiba agreed, thinking of what happened when Rias found out. She must have at least destroyed the entire Grimoire family training grounds, twice. Pissed. Kaneko stated. Oh my leg. What was that? Sounded like a member of the Ed duo getting their divine punishment. Kaneko stated with a small upturn of her lips. Don't you think you were a bit hard on them? Alduin asked, seeing the state the 2s were in after Harry got through with them. Possibly, he admitted. Asia's tender flesh shall be ours. We will see the purity that is her flesh, said the duo, crawling towards the peephole they were using. On second thought, die. Their screams filled the outside of the school. It was a testament to how often those two got caught peeping that he was not even called into the office. I still think you should have killed them. It would have been too much trouble to cover up. He responded, not troubled at all by the thought of killing the two pervs. They can't pin a murder on you, if there is nothing left to find. Alduin pointed out helpfully. Plus I'm sure any one of your adoring stalkers would have given you an alibi. Next time, he promised, trying not to think of his fangirls, they were the true source of evil. They also multiplied faster than a Catholic rabbit. Apparently he qualified as a Bishonen, making him hated by the boys and stalked by the girls. Kiba was the Prince of Ku, with Harry as the Knight of Ku, protecting their honor by keeping the Ed duo away from the changing rooms. He sighed. High school students seemed to make a big deal out of everything. Telling the others later in the club room this, they laughed. You're right, they made a huge deal about the fact that I knew you. Ravel agreed. Somehow the fact that we have met before suddenly means we are secret lovers. The students of this school have crazy imaginations. Kaneko said on the club room couch eating her snacks. Apparently Rias and Issei are secretly dating without their parents' approval, so they are keeping it secret, and Kiba and Akano have been dating for months. Kiba just chuckled awkwardly at that one. He had heard it, and Akano took great pleasure in making sure the rumors stayed active. Leaning back into his seat, Harry sighed. If his fight with Riser revealed anything, it was that he needed to get stronger. He should not need to go balance breaker for every enemy. Feeling a tap on his arm, he turned to see Asia's worried face. Is everything all right? Fine. He gave a small smile and patted her on the head. Just thinking. She smiled and leaned against him. Good. Several months passed without issue. Harry and Co were headed over to Issei's house to have dinner with his parents, something they insisted on wanting to make sure our son does not become like those 2s at his school. His collection is bad enough as is. Harry pissed as he got caught in the middle of a prank war between Marcus and Issei, having been hit with several paintballs in a trap meant for Marcus. Hey, he defended, walking into his house. You should have been able to dodge those. It's not my fault you don't have as good of senses as me. Turning, he opened the family room door only to be tackled by an orange blur. Issei, it is so good to see you again. The blur was revealed to be a beautiful girl with orange hair and pigtails. Irina, Irina, Issei shouted in shock, looking down at the girl hugging his chest. Issei, it is so good to see you again. Irina shouted in joy, hugging him tighter. That's great, Irina, but could you loosen your grip? I can't breathe, he rasped out. She pulled back with a blush. Sorry. Wow, Issei, you work fast. Marcus joked. See the position that he and Irina were in. What are you? He started to ask before looking down. Irina was sitting on top of him, straddling his waist. Irina had also noticed the position they were in and quickly jumped up in embarrassment. Irina, please do not embarrass yourself any further, spoke a female voice with a small British accent. Turning, they saw a beautiful girl in the same outfit as Irina, with short blue hair with a green strand in front. Sorry Zenobia, I was just really happy to see Issei again, she apologized, rubbing the back of her head in embarrassment. Well, if you are done we must be going. We'll not be happy if we are late, she said, making it clear that they were here only because Irina wanted to see Issei. Walking past the group, Zenobia shot Asia a strange look as she passed. As if she knew her but did not know from where. Unnoticed by anyone, Harry's hand clenched at the mention of the last name Drake. Considering that he was here and there was no chance the church had not figured out where he lived after the raiding game where he revealed his Hellfire. The odds of it not being Sully were very slim. Traitor, he thought. Sully was in the church at the time of Asia's excommunication and he did nothing to help her. As far as he was concerned, Sully was dead. Walking into the club room the next day, they saw Rias and Akano sitting across from Irina and Zenobia along with Sully, not that any of the others knew who he was. The situation was quite tense, or at least it was till Issei and the others walked in and Irina happily waved to Issei. Issei, what are you doing here? I heard 3 exorcists were staying in my territory, of course I would come to this meeting. Rias' grip on her teacup tightened when he mentioned that. While Kiba shot him a look, did he really need to pour fuel on the fire? I thought this was Heavenous Devil's territory. Irina asked, somehow managing to insult the devils with such casual ease Issei doubted she even noticed she did it. Sully on the other hand face-palmed. This girl was going to start a war. Common misconception, Rias smiled, hiding the pure unadulterated rage contained within. I handle the day-to-day affairs for him in exchange for him giving me and my peerage his protection. Oh yeah, that's right, you're the Red Dragon Emperor. The other sweat dropped at that. How did you forget your best friend was one of the top 10 most powerful beings alive? But Zenobia and Sully raised an eyebrow. There was no mention in the report of him being the Red Dragon Emperor, so how did she know that? Voicing the question, she surprised them with the answer. I was there when he awakened his sacred gear, of course. Then why did you not tell the church? Zenobia asked in frustration. If they had the Red Dragon Emperor on their side they could have wiped out the devils by now. Issei was never really a Catholic and his parents were Shinto, so I never saw a reason they would never have let him join the church, so there was no reason. Sully decided not to mention that getting the wielder of the boosted gear on their side would most likely be too tempting, and some members of the church would have kidnapped him and wiped his parents' minds. All for the greater good, of course. Anyway, Issei said, draw the conversation back on topic. What are you two doing here? He asked, gazing at the two unknown exorcists sternly. What about Irina? Zenobia asked, noting he did not include her in the count. I don't really care why she is here, she's welcome here at any time. Issei shrugged. Well, we are here because 4 of the Excaliburs have been stolen. Sully told them. They all gasped in shock except for Harry and Issei. Harry because it was fairly easy to steal something that had been proven to him as a child, and Issei because he really did not care. Well, it seems the church is as good at protecting the Excaliburs as usual, and look, children are going to have to deal with it again. Harry remarked. How dare you? Zenobia began before Harry laughed, causing the others to blink in shock. Harry did not laugh, smirk yes, a little chuckle sure, a small smile sometimes. But he never laughed. I dare because last time an Excalibur nearly got taken I had to stop the devil, he informed them. I was 7 and I protected the sword better than they could. The 2 teen exorcists glared at him while Sully just looked away in embarrassment. It did not escape his notice the way Harry refused to look at him. We are just here to request you do not interfere with the investigation. As we have reason to believe that fallen angels are involved. Of course we will not interfere with this, we have no reason to. Rias told them at the same time. Issei said. Not a chance. What? Rias asked in outrage. He was not going to start a conflict with the church here, was he? This is my territory. I'm not letting you along with the fallen angels walk around with 6 of the 7 Excaliburs. You have no right, Zenobia began, but Issei cut her off. I have every right, Issei stated firmly. This is my territory. I could kick you out right now if I wanted to, and there is nothing you could do about it. Understood. And what about him? She asked, indicating to Danasik. He is not a member of this, that I can assure you. He is an ally of mine. No one missed the, or are you accusing me of helping as well, hidden in the statement. Sully sighed. This was the trouble of doing business in dragon territory. Unless you brought them irrefutable proof that one of their own was behind whatever you were investigating, they would not let you insult them and defend them from any assault. Thank you for your time, but we must be going. He thanked them, hoping to get out of there before something happened. It did not escape his notice that the blonde boy next to Marcus was glaring at them and their Excaliburs. Hold on. God damn it, Zenobia, he cursed. Aren't you Asia Argento? And now they were dead. Yes, she answered meekly. A witch banished from the church. Why am I not surprised to find you consorting with devils? Zenobia stated with disdain. Oh my God, you were the former saint who became a witch. Irina cheerfully said. I had heard you were banished because you had the power to heal fallen angels and devils, and one time you actually did so. You must be pretty strong, she said with a smile on her face, unaware of the rising tensions. As Asia looked down in shame on the verge of tears, she felt a hand rest on her shoulder. Looking up, she saw Marcus giving her a comforting smile while Harry took a protective step in front of her. Well, I mean, Asia, are you all right? Marcus asked, noticing the small shaking of her body. Of course she's not all right, Zenobia said, as if it should be obvious. She is a former saint now consorting with devils. She could not get much lower. That's enough, Harry shouted. Leave now. And you, a former exorcist now selling your services to the enemies of God, she continued, unaware of how close she was to going too far. Sully, on the other hand, was perfectly aware of how close Harry was to snapping, and as much as he hated to admit it, there was nothing they could do to stop him. There would not even be any danger to get the others to step in. After all, the ally of the Securite defending someone he cared about from an assault in the territory of the Securite. The church would not dare risk alienating him any more than they already have. Do you still believe in our God? Either of you never even did in the first place, Harry told them without hesitation. While Asia looked down in shame and stuttered out a reply. Don't be silly, she hangs around with devils now. I doubt she does. Irina added. Shut up, 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 was currently running Sully's head. These two were really oblivious to danger, weren't they? That does not always mean what you think it does. Some people continue to hold God in their hearts even amidst their own selfish betrayal. Sully decided he wanted a funeral back in England near the church he grew up rather than at the Vatican where exorcists were normally buried. So do you. Yes, I could never let go of God, she cried, tears running down her face, and Harry was one more insult away from taking their heads off. Then give yourself over to my judgment and I will send your soul to God if you truly regret betraying him. Let your soul be judged through my hand and let God work through me. Shut the hell up, you servants of a hypocritical egomaniac, Harry shouted in outrage. The members of the church were shocked into silence for a brief moment. Watch your tone, remember who sealed the dragons away, Zenobia nearly yelled in anger at the insult to her god. I remember it was the combined forces of heaven, hell and the fallen angels plus Ra and Odin, and even then we killed Ra and crippled Odin. One Drake told them. Despite what your church would like you to believe, your God is not all-powerful, nor is he more powerful than us. He is just amazing at sealing. The others blinked. It was not a commonly known fact about the fact that Ra died and Odin was crippled. The factions did not like people knowing how powerful the dragons really were. Better to let them think that only the biblical faction was involved in the sealing and remind everyone that Ra and Odin were just as powerful as Yahweh, name of the biblical god. Either way, it is my duty to rescue this witch's soul from. She was cut off by Harry. You assholes have no right to call Asia a witch. Believe me, that is one of the kinder things I have to say about one such as her. Zenobia smirked while Sully wondered if she was suicidal. She stood no chance against Harry alone, and he doubted that Marcus would not back him up. I don't give a damn, you jackasses were the ones who decided that she was a saint, not Asia. You have no right to judge her on your own preconceived notions. A genuine saint is one who can survive off the love of God alone. If Asia made sacrifices for the love of anyone but God, then she was not a true saint. You must be hard of hearing because I just told you that you have no right to judge her on your own delusions. And who are you to Asia? We are her family, Marcus spoke up. And unlike you, we actually care about her, not the power she gives us, and if you try so much as raise your hand against her, I will kill you myself. You would stand against the whole church? Zenobia asked, amused, hefting her sword. Don't you have an overinflated sense of importance? Harry told them. You really think the church would risk war with the dragons by attacking one of our territories over two little girls? It was true. While the dragons would not care about the person who was attacked, they would be furious about anyone thinking they could attack dragon territory without any repercussions. Add in the fact that Alduin alone had several dragons who had pledged to fight for him in the past. The church would be massacred because there was no doubt that the other factions would take advantage of the situation and attack as well. It does not matter if she truly had faith in God, he would have saved her, she dismissed before vanishing. Crash. Following the noise, they saw Zenobia pressed up against the wall with Harry's sword to her throat. So then if I slit your throat right here, it is because you did not have faith in God. So he did not save you. Huh, he shouted. They quickly turned their gaze to the other exorcists to see how they reacted, only to notice that while Sully was standing there with one hand on his sword, Irina was nowhere to be found. Searching the room, they saw Irina being held back by Issei on the other end of the room. Issei, let go of me, she cried out, struggling against his grip. No, he would kill you without hesitation or trouble, he said, standing his ground, holding her in place. She sighed, giving up her struggle. It was clear that she stood no chance both against Issei and Harry. Fine, but could you please get your friend to let Zenobia go? She requested, not wanting to see her friend killed. Harry, he called in warning. He seemed to consider disobeying for a moment before pulling back. Threaten her again, you won't be so lucky, he coolly informed her. She rubbed the red line on her throat, very aware on how close she came to death. Sully spoke, choosing his next words very carefully. I believe there is no more need to stay in the company of our hosts, he said, looking for the right word. Perhaps we should go. Though it was phrased like a question, they knew full well it was a demand. Wait, before you leave, do you have any idea who is behind this? Issei asked, wanting to know what he may be up against. Yes, it is Kokabeel. To everyone's surprise, Donasik started laughing. Ha ha ha, that was a good one, he said, wiping away an invisible tear. Now really who took them? Before seeing the unamused faces of the exorcists. You're serious? He asked. They sent 2 teenagers with shiny toys and an old man to deal with one of the leaders of the Grigori. Do they want you to die? Are you implying we don't stand a chance? Zenobia asked, placing a hand on her sword. Oh, I'm sorry, did I imply that? He asked. I meant to say it outright, you will die against him. He is a veteran from the Great War and he has 5 sets of wings. The 3 of you combined would have trouble taking me on, much less Kokabeel. We will do God's work. Zenobia stated. No, you will die because the church is full of idiots, you have no chance against him. All of us, combined, would barely be able to defeat him, and even then we are going down with him. 2. Believe what you will, but we will do his work, she informed him before walking out the door. Harry, Sully began as he walked out. I have nothing to say to you. He interrupted. You made it quite clear how much I can trust you. Sully seemed to sag and trudged out the door. Hey, wait for me, Irina called after the 2. Bye, Issei. It was nice seeing you again. As soon as the trio of exorcists had made it back to the church, Sully rounded on Zenobia. What the hell were you thinking? He hollered. No, don't answer that, it was clear you weren't thinking. But they insulted God, she defended. I could not let such an insult go unpunished. Did you forget our mission? He asked. If it was not for the fact Irina was friends with the Securite, we would have been killed by Harry. We could have stopped him. No, we could not. I trained him and I have not been able to beat him since he was 9, and I doubt he spent the last 7 months relaxing. He would have destroyed us. We have the Excaliburs, and those would do nothing against a dragon. It may give you a better chance, but he is not a devil. Sully told her. He would be able to beat any of us on his own. I had Durandal, she pointed out. A sword much more powerful than an Excalibur. And he had Hellfire plus his balance breaker with armor made out of dragon steel, he informed her. He would have killed us. We were prepared for devils, that is why we all have holy swords, but they would do nothing against a dragon. You would do well not to underestimate a dragon's power, he reminded her. And remember, I will not be here tomorrow. I must scout the next town over to make sure they are not hiding there, so you will be on your own for the next few days. I remember. She said the church was not convinced that the fallen angels were not hiding in nearby towns, so they sent Sully to check them out. Good, because I expect you to control yourself next time. You might not be so lucky, he warned her before turning. Now if will excuse me, I must be on my way. He gave Irina a small smile before walking out of the church. Harry was walking through the halls of Ku Academy heading towards Asia's last class of the day. When he got there, he saw her talking with another student. Harry, she called out in her typical cheery tone. I would like you to meet my friend. This is Akia, this is Harry. She introduced. The girl pushed up her glasses, which seemed to shine in the light. You foof, she chuckled creepily. You were quite lucky, Asia, he is quite the package, she said, glancing at him, or more precisely his lower regions. Harry took a small step back. So Asia, how do you know? Akia was it. She is in my art class as well as my gym class. She smiled before blushing a little. She also helps me with the outfits. Harry did not need to ask what she was talking about. Shortly after the rating game, Asia had started to wear different outfits and costumes for Harry. According to her, a friend recommended it. It seems he has found that friend, finally finding out who had been corrupting Asia with that ideas. It was apparently some evil demon who disguised itself as a schoolgirl. Well, Asia, we should be going. Say goodbye to your creepy friend, he said, muttering the last part under his breath. What was that last part? She asked, having not heard it. I said say goodbye to your friend, he told her, covering up his mistake. Oh, bye, Akia. Tell me how it goes, will you? She smirked. Harry shot her a suspicious look, wondering what she was talking about. Asia just blushed and grabbed Harry's hand, rushing out of the building. Once outside, she relaxed her grip on his hand and leaned into his side, holding his arm. There you two are, called Marcus, who had been waiting for them out by the front gate to the school. Look, if you two are going to sneak off to make out, at least tell me so I know to go on ahead, he said, exasperated, shaking his head. We weren't, but he was cut off by Marcus. Is that Kiba? He asked, looking behind Harry. Turning, he saw it was Kiba and he seemed angry. Why would he be right? The Holy Swords. Harry forgot about that. He was a survivor of the Holy Sword Project and wanted to destroy the Excaliburs. We should follow him before he does something stupid. Harry was very familiar with doing something stupid while you were mad. For example, burning down a church. Not that he regretted it, but it was stupid to do that. They followed him for a while before deciding that he was most likely looking for the exorcists and that they should find them first. This is pointless. We're never going to find them sitting on a street corner. Marcus shouted in frustration. They had spent the last hour looking for them, but so far no luck. "O ye who have faith in the Lord," came the voice of Zenobia from the corner of the street, who was standing in front of a charity basket. "Do you ever get tired of being wrong?" Harry asked with a slight smirk. "Shut up," he said, walking up to the duo. "So what are doing here? I doubt the church sent you here without money." "Irina," Zenobia shot the girl a small glare. "Spent all our money on a false painting of a saint. It was not a fake. The man who sold it to us even said so." The image of a man with a typical evil mustache rubbing his hands together appeared in their minds. No, it was not. They watched back and forth for several minutes as the two argued whether or not it was real. When their stomachs growled and they both blushed. Harry rolled his eyes, but Asia's compassion shone through and she offered them a meal. "Mmmhhh, this is really good," Irina said, wolfing down another bowl of curry. "I know," Zenobia agreed, eating just as fast. "Fast," Kaneko said, watching them devour several full-course meals. "When the hell did you appear?" Marcus said, jumping in his seat. He didn't even see her. "She showed up around their third full-course meal," Harry told him, looking annoyed. He looked for them to stop Kiba from doing something stupid, not feed them. "Thank you for the meal," Zenobia said, her hood still up as if she was ashamed to seem with them. Which was quite possible. They didn't part with the church on the best of terms after all. Apparently burning down part of the Vatican got you blacklisted by them. Who knew? "Now what do you want?" she asked, both her and Irina becoming serious. "I doubt you feed us out of the kindness of your hearts." "You were right, I didn't, Asia did. If I had a choice, you would be kicked out of town at the very least," Harry said, giving them a dull look. He could care less about interfaction politics. He didn't affect. The worst that would happen if war broke was that he would get a bunch of business. After all, war is good for his business. He sold magic steel, something that would be in great demand if war happened. "I have a request," Kaneko said quietly, drawing everyone's attention to her. "Let us destroy an Excalibur." The church duo immediately were on guard. "Why should we do that?" Irina asked, placing a hand on Excalibur mimic. "You can't beat Kokabeel on your own," she pointed out. "But the help of one devil is not worth an Excalibur," Zenobia said. "But I'm worth more, aren't I?" Harry asked, entering the negotiations. "You would help a devil?" she asked. For someone wanting to stay neutral, he seemed quite willing to take sides. "I would screw over the church," he said. He really didn't like the church. "Besides, I owe Kokabeel for what he did to Asia." He hadn't forgotten who had ordered Raynor to remove Asia's sacred gear. "Why on earth would we?" Irina began before Zenobia interrupted her. "Fine," Zenobia agreed. "If you help us regain the Excaliburs, we will let you destroy one." "Zenobia!" Irina exclaimed in shock. "We have no choice, Irina," she admitted, looking to the side in shame. "If we want even one of the Excaliburs back, we will have to make sacrifices. Better one Excalibur lost than no Excalibur gained." "So do we have deal?" Harry asked, holding out his hand, and even though Kaneko was devil here, Zenobia still felt like she was selling her soul. "Yes, we do." She grasped his hand and shook it. "Now Kaneko, where is Kiba?" Harry asked, turning to the Neko. She sighed and told them. "He is at the fountain near the park." "Thank you for doing this for me, Harry," Kiba said in thanks, glad to have the chance to destroy an Excalibur. Though perfectly aware that Harry was only doing this because it would piss off the church, something he could completely get behind. "But I must admit I'm disappointed that someone who could wield Excalibur would approve of their destruction." All his friends had died hoping to be able to wield an Excalibur. It angered him a little that the wielder of one would allow it to be destroyed. Speaking of disappointed, Zenobia began, and Harry sighed for the love of Great Red. "Haven't you recently abandoned your place in the House of Grimoire?" "Don't even start," Harry said, seeing where this was going. We are here to stop Kokabeel, not watch you two get into a religious debate about why blah 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 is better than blah. You were right, Zenobia admitted. But I suppose I should tell you this devil, the man who ran the Holy Sword Project Valpyr Galilei, is working with Kokabeel. Kiba gained a dark look. Good, saves me the trouble of hunting him down, and it does give me a good incentive to work with you. Yay, then I guess it's been decided, Irina cheerfully said with a smile, causing Marcus to wonder if being cheerful and a member of the church was attractive to dragons. We will meet at the church later tonight, Zenobia said, laying out the plan, getting nods from the rest. I won't be coming, Harry told them, ignoring Irina's cry of indignation. What? But our deal was for me to help you deal with Kokabeel, and trust me, you aren't finding a general from the Great War by wandering around town. Marcus will help, but I'm only helping you take down Kokabeel. Zenobia grit her teeth but knew that was the deal they made. Fine, she grit out as she stormed off with Irina following behind. Heading back to the house, Harry saw that same man as always sitting in the back next to the river that they shared with an apartment complex. Hello, Harry, the man greeted from his seat on the dock. Harry sighed. He was sure that man had some kind of connection to the supernatural with the way he always knew when something happened. Harry could never detect any magic from him, so Harry just assumed that the man was a normal human in the know. Rare but not unheard of, certain events were known to allow one to pierce the veil, so to speak, and see the truth of the world. Hello, Mr. Alzac, Harry greeted with a sigh. Why so glum? Alzac asked with a grin. You and Asia have a row. Not answering that, Harry said as he entered the house. Alzac chuckled. The black dragon sure was interesting this time round. Freed, Marcus roared, catapulting at the stray exorcist, his spear moving at superhuman speeds. Freed, even with Excalibur Rapid, was having trouble staying ahead of Marcus because even though he had greater speed, he was not used to moving that fast. Marcus on the end had spent his entire life training for this moment, the chance to kill Freed. What crawled up your and died? Freed asked with a laugh, dodging another strike. Whoops, that one was closer than the rest, you little shit. Freed mocking was stopped by Kiba joining the fight as well. Oh crap, Freed cursed. That's not fair, he complained. You can stick your ing the same place. I'm going to shove this spear between your ribs. The spear wielder roared, bringing his spear down on the crazed exorcist, hitting the same hand as last time. Freed laughed as a clang resounded throughout the area. Surprise, cocker, like my new hand? He asked, holding up his new hand. Now that as was illuminated, his hand was clearly metal. Got this badass after T cut off my old one, he bragged, showing off his new metal limb. Then I'll just cut it off again, he roared, twisting his spear to stab the psychopath in the chest. Wow, aren't you angry? Freed laughed as he twisted out of the way. What's the matter, you shit your diaper? Say mocked, causing Marcus to growl in rage and attack even more ferociously. Just shut up and die, Kiba and Marcus shouted at the same time, trapping him between their weapons. Well, it seems you have landed yourself in quite the pickle, haven't you, Freed? An old man said, amusement in his tone. Valpyr Galilei, Kiba roared upon seeing who it was. The one and only. The old man smirked, seemingly unaware of the young devil's rage. The one and only what old man? Freed asked as pushed Marcus back. How about you stop blathering and help me? Oh, you need help? The old man asked with a smile that was out of place given the situation. Have you tried channeling your magic into the blade? Valpyr asked, not letting his annoyance show. Freed blinked as he remembered he could that. Oh right, I can do that. Freed smirked, and moments later Excalibur Rapid started to glow. All right, now I can kill some shitty devils. Laughing, the stray exorcist disappeared only to reappear behind Kiba. On this, Freed laughed as he kicked Kiba into a pillar. Marcus stepped back and prepared himself. Before him and Freed were equal in speed. Now Freed surpassed him by a fair amount, and though his mind was mostly clouded by anger, his training kicked in and he did this without thinking. Freed, deal with them quickly, we need to find the other Excaliburs. The former priest ordered, already bored with the situation. Screw off, old man. I'll do what I want. Freed shouted, wanting to mess with the teenagers a bit longer. I don't think Kokabeel would be too happy about that. At the mention of Kokabeel, Freed seemed to pale. Kokabeel was not someone you wanted to cross. It seems it's your lucky day, kids, Freed said, appearing next to Valpyr. You get to live another day. With that both him and the former priest vanished. So it was Kokabeel. Rias said, he's planning something, but what? I don't know, but whatever it is, it can't be good. If he is out blatantly going against Azazel's orders, then he must be planning something big and soon. Donasik said, centuries of experience told him that things were about to get really bad. To be continue. I hope you enjoyed this story. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you.